and advancing knowledge within our poultry fraternity. To build some context to today's seminar, poultry farming stands as a cornerstone of our agricultural sector, providing a significant source of protein for millions worldwide. From enhancing immune responses to fostering efficient growth rates, the role of nutrition in poultry management is multifaceted. Today, we are privileged to delve into a comprehensive discussion led by an esteemed panel of experts on the topic, the crucial role of nutrition, maximizing productivity and health. Our aim in this seminar is not only to understand the complexities of poultry nutrition, but also to glean actionable insights that will empower you to make informed decisions, optimize feed formulations, and elevate standards in poultry operations. A very special welcome to our keynote speaker, Professor P.K. Shukla, Head of the Department of Poultry Science, Durvasu Mathura, our chief guest, Mr. Ranpal Danda, President, Poultry Federation of India, and guest of honor, Mr. Ramesh Chandra Khatri, Chairman, Poultry Federation of India. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our speakers for today, Dr. Venkatesh Gunasekaran, Dr. Sanjay Singhal, Dr. Kamna Barkatoki, and Dr. Sandeep Dwivedi. My heartfelt appreciation goes out to Dr. Deepak, who has been helping us put this program together today. Before I move on further, a warm thank you to our sponsors for today, Aviogen India, EW Nutrition, and Stalin. Thank you for helping us put this together today. I would now like to call upon Ferry Monet, Nishi Rana, and Aniket Parekh to please come up on stage and present a shawl to our guests and speakers. President, Poultry Federation of India, to say a few words, please. Mr. Danda is Director of Unnat Group, one of the largest vertically integrated poultry conglomerates of North India, with operations in feed milling, hatcheries, broilers, layers, and processing industry. He is currently President of PFI, an apex body that looks after the interests of the Indian poultry industry, as well as small farmers who contribute to its growth. Mr. Danda is also a member of the newly formed advisory committee that was created by the central government to discuss the issues, challenges, and opportunities that arise in the animal husbandry industry from time to time.
हमारे पोल्ट्री फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चेयरमैन रमेश चंद्र खत्री जी, हमारे बहुत ही आदरणीय और मार्गदर्शक भी कह सकते हैं हम, डॉक्टर पी.के. शुक्ला जी, डॉक्टर वेंकटेश जी, डॉक्टर संजय, डॉक्टर संदीप, डॉक्टर कामना जी, डॉक्टर राकेश गुप्ता जी, और हमारे नॉर्थ इंडिया के ब्रायलर प्रोड्यूसर एसोसिएशन के प्रेसिडेंट संजीत जी, और मेरे पोल्ट्री सेक्टर से आए सभी भाइयों, मैं आप सबको नमस्कार करता हूं। और आज सबसे पहले तो मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा इंडियन पोल्ट्री रिव्यू और संजय मुखर्जी जी का, कि आज इन्होंने जो हमें मौका दिया है कि हम देश के जो इतने अच्छे अच्छे साइंटिस्ट और डॉक्टर हमारे बीच में आए, उनको सुनने का हमारे को एक अच्छा मौका आज इन्होंने दिया है। इसके लिए मैं इनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। और जैसा वैसे तो इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में हम न्यूट्रिशन पे आज अच्छे विचार सुनेंगे ही, और इनका एक जो आज इन्होंने नॉलेज रिव्यू का एक प्रोग्राम किया है, इसकी आज हमें बहुत बड़ी आवश्यकता है। क्योंकि अगर आज पोल्ट्री में ग्रो करना है तो टाइम टू टाइम अपने को हमने एक अपडेट करना पड़ेगा, चाहे न्यूट्रिशन के मामले में हो, चाहे मैनेजमेंट के मामले में हो, चाहे ऑल ओवर मार्केट के मामले में हो, हमें अपने आप को अपडेट करना ही पड़ेगा। क्योंकि इस कंपटीशन के दौर में अगर हम पॉइंटों में भी पिछड़ते हैं तो आगे आने वाले टाइम, चाहे इंटरनेशनल कंपटीशन है, चाहे अपने देश के अंदर कंपटीशन है, हम उसका मुकाबला तभी कर पाएंगे जब हम अपने आप को अपडेट रखेंगे। तो न्यूट्रिशन पे जैसे आज बहुत अच्छे वो हम सुनेंगे, मेरे विचार में न्यूट्रिशन के साथ साथ हमें जो पोल्ट्री में हम रॉ मटेरियल यूज कर रहे हैं उन पे भी एक ध्यान देने की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है, क्योंकि न्यूट्रिशन का फायदा तभी है जब इनका अच्छी क्वालिटी के रॉ मटेरियल यूज कर पाएंगे, और तभी हम टॉक्सिन फ्री फीड या अपनी बर्ड की गट हेल्थ या हर चीज़ का तभी हम उस पर ध्यान रख पाएंगे। मैं ज़्यादा समय आज ना लेते हुए, आज क्योंकि हमारे बीच में बहुत अच्छे अच्छे वक्ता हैं, तो उनको सुनने का जो आज हमें अवसर मिला है उसके लिए मैं दोबारा फिर से एक बार इन संजय मुखर्जी जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, Bittuji. I'd now like to request Mr. Ramesh Chandra Khatri, Chairman of PFI, to say a few words. Ramesh ji.
हमारे पोल्ट्री फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के प्रेसिडेंट रणपाल डांडा जी और डॉक्टर शुक्ला जी, जो कि शुरुआत से ही आज से नहीं करीब करीब 25-30 साल से हमारे एसोसिएशन को बहुत सहयोग कर रहे हैं, और इनके रणपाल जी ने बताया भी है कि इनके मार्गदर्शन पर हम आगे बढ़ते आ रहे हैं। आज हमारी एसोसिएशन यहाँ खड़ी है, तो इनका मैं तालियों से स्वागत करना चाहता हूँ। इन्होंने हमारा बहुत सहयोग किया है। सभी उपस्थित माननीय गणों को सादर नमस्कार। सबसे पहले मैं संजय जी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि महत्वपूर्ण टॉपिक पर यह सेमिनार ऑर्गेनाइज किया। ऐसे सेमिनार का एक अहम योगदान हम सब अपनी पोल्ट्री की एक परफॉर्मेंस में देख पाते हैं, और हम सभी के सीखने के लिए एक अच्छा अवसर देते हैं। इंडियन पोल्ट्री रिव्यू भारत की सबसे पुरानी मैगजीन में से एक है, और मैं दावा करता हूं कि यह मैगजीन पहले से ज़्यादा ग्रो करे और आगे बढ़े और पोल्ट्री की सेवा में लगी रहे। तो हम इनके सहयोग से हम भी ये चाहते हैं कि पोल्ट्री चिकन का, एग का प्रमोशन के लिए ये हम भी एक प्रोग्राम शुरू करने की सोच रहे हैं, उसमें भी ये हमारे को सहयोग करेंगे। तो सभी बातें ये कहते हुए मैं अपना धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ आपका, आपकी टीम का, अगर आपने मौका दिया, और आगे भी हमेशा पोल्ट्री के लिए आप वो करते रहेंगे। धन्यवाद।
We now move on to the keynote address for today, and I request Professor Shukla to deliver the keynote address. Professor Shukla is a former Joint Commissioner Poultry, Government of India, in the Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and has played a crucial role in the policy, planning and program implementation, especially in the poultry sector. He is a graduate of Veterinary College, Jabalpur. Awarded with numerous prestigious awards and honors, Professor Shukla is a distinguished fellow of the National Academy of Veterinary Sciences. He has authored several policy papers and status papers. Presently, he is engaged in research and education management in veterinary science and providing leadership for overall poultry development in the country. So I'm sure that introduction was not necessary, sir, but please welcome you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. A very good morning to all of you. Indeed, it's a matter of great pleasure again to be at Chandigarh after a lapse of almost 1 year, again in the Hotel Hyatt. Earlier it was different. In the last gathering, in the annual convention of Poultry Federation of India, we met here in December 2022. Lot more changes have taken place. Everything is dynamic in this world. और अगर कोई चीज परमानेंट है तो वो है चेंज, परिवर्तन, और परिवर्तन प्रकृति का नियम है। When we are talking about poultry, I think we all are very much involved since beginning. So, chief guest of today's function, Mr. Ranpal Dhanda ji, who is President Poultry Federation of India, the Chairman PFI, Khatri Saab, Rahul, my friend Rakesh, Dr. Kamna and her staff from the ministry, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, at the outset, I would like to appreciate Mr. Sanjay Mukherjee, who all the way from Calcutta traveled to Chandigarh for a common cause, and the cause is poultry. I am associated with this group since I think 1991, more than 3 decades. Quite fascinating looking to his father-in-law, Ghosh Dada, who is in very advanced stage, is still working for poultry. I know. He picked up the poultry in 50s, acted as generalist, taken the poultry on the paper to disseminate the information to each and every end user. That was a different era. Even I have gone through poultry jagat also. Later on, ये सारा का सारा सिस्टम जो था उसको हिंदी बेस्ड भी किया, जिससे जनमानस तक जो संदेश भेजना है वो भेजा जा सके. The cause is very novel. Information should reach to the destination and to the end user. If information is not reaching to the end user, there is no use of that information, there is no use of that research, there is no use of that particular extension machinery. स्वतंत्रता के बाद हमारे देश में जितनी भी एक्टिविटीज चली उसमें सबसे पहला स्थान था वो कृषि एवं कृषि कार्य थे, जिसपे सरकार का सबसे पहले ध्यान गया था. और जब मैं कृषि की बात करता हूं तो पशुपालन उसका एक अभिन्न अंग है. सो लेट अस स्टार्ट आवर स्टोरी व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू चर्न इट टुडे सिंस 1950, जब हमने अपने देश में पहला पंचवर्षीय योजना लागू किया था. उस समय अगर हम देखें तो पोल्ट्री का जो स्थिति था वो बहुत ही डिफरेंट टाइप का होता था. और स्टैटिस्टिक्स आंकड़ों की दृष्टि से देखें तो उस समय का जो पहला स्टैटिस्टिकल रिकॉर्ड हमको मिलता है वो था कि भारत में अंडे का जो उत्पादन था वो लगभग 2 बिलियन पीसेस था. और पिछले महीने जो अब आंकड़े रिलीज किए हैं भारत सरकार ने, उसको अगर आप देखें तो हम पहुंच चुके हैं 138 बिलियन पीसेस ऑफ एग. सो दिस जर्नी इज क्वाइट मैग्निफिसेंट फ्रॉम 2 billion pieces of eggs to 138 billion pieces of egg. And now proudly we can say that we are number 2 in the world so far egg production is concerned. Yes, the credit goes to you. Why? Because you people are there in the field to take this country to this proud level. We all work together in all the spheres, spinning everything and then making the country proud, and that is the ultimate goal. पोल्ट्री की बात करूं, सिर्फ ये आजीविका का साधन नहीं है. शुरुआती तौर पे अगर हम देखें, हमारे देश के सरकार का जो ध्येय होता है एंड मोस्टली वो ध्येय आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर है, स्वावलंबन की ओर है, महिलाओं की प्रगति की ओर है, बच्चों में कुपोषण की समस्या से निपटने की ओर है, एंड व्हाट नॉट. And the solution to all these problems which are being addressed is only the poultry. You see, this particular profession gives women empowerment. आप सबको पता है पशुपालन की जितनी भी गतिविधियां हमारे देश में हो रही हैं, अधिकांशतः महिलाओं का योगदान उसमें होता है. चाहे पिछवाड़े पे गाय को रखना हो, चाहे बर्ड्स को पालना हो, चाहे भेड़ बकरी पालना हो, महिलाओं की भूमिका को हम नकार नहीं सकते. इस देश में जहां लगभग 5 बिलियन बच्चे कुपोषण की समस्या का प्रतिवर्ष शिकार होते हैं, अंडा और अंडे से उत्पाद, मुर्गी एवं मुर्गी के उत्पाद इन समस्याओं से निपटने में सक्षम है. और एक्सपेरिमेंटली सर्वे बेस्ड इंफॉर्मेशन के आधार पे दावे के साथ ये कहा जा सकता है कि जो प्रोटीन का क्वालिटी हमारे मुर्गी और मुर्गी के उत्पादों में है वो अन्य किसी उत्पाद में नहीं है। कहने का तात्पर्य ये कि अगर इस कुपोषण की समस्या भी आपको निपटना है तो सस्ता, संतुलित और अच्छे आहार के रूप में इस अंडे और मुर्गी के मांस का प्रयोग किया जा सकता है। मित्रों, हमारे देश में जो प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम है, जो मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम है, वो भी दूसरे देशों की भांति या पश्चिमी देशों की भांति नहीं है। In Western world, usually the production is there in masses, but here in our country, it is by masses. हर एक आदमी थोड़ा ना थोड़ा उत्पादन में कंट्रीब्यूट करता है। पश्चिमी देशों में देखें तो बहुत बड़े लेवल पे उनका उत्पादन होता है। In other words, what I can say is, उनके पास चीज़ों को कंट्रोल करने का बहुत अच्छा, सस्ता, सुंदर, सुलभ साधन होता है, क्योंकि एक सिंगल पॉइंट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन में चीज़ें आपके कंट्रोल में होती हैं। पर जब पूरा ही देश उत्पादन में लगा हुआ हो और हर एक आदमी कुछ परसेंटेज में आपको सहयोग करता हो, तो उन चीज़ों को बनाए रखने में, उनकी ट्रेसेबिलिटी, उनकी क्वालिटी, पॉइंट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन से पॉइंट ऑफ कंजम्पशन तक ले जाने में गुणवत्ता को बनाए रखना, ये सब अपने आप में एक महत्वपूर्ण समस्याएं और उनका निदान करना भी आवश्यक होता है। कमिंग टू अ रोल ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन इन मैक्सिमाइजिंग द प्रोडक्शन एंड हेल्थ, अगेन इट्स a subject on which we can debate for hours together. हम सभी को पता है 1970 के दशक में अगर हम बात करते थे, खासकर इस मुर्गी की, तो it was known to produce fewer eggs in the backyard. It means, in other words, if I'll say, तो मुर्गी को सिर्फ अंडा उत्पादन देने वाली चीज ही समझा जाता था। We never thought of that other than egg, there is a use of poultry. Slowly and slowly, with the efforts of our scientists, the researchers, the geneticists, the nutritionists, in 80s, we started realizing and trying to identify a bird which is known for meat production and to whom we all know as broiler. किसी को पहले भरोसा ही नहीं होता था कि एक महीने में एक बर्ड का वजन 1.5 किलो तक हो सकता है। इट वॉज अ ड्रीम। वो इसलिए है कि जो बैकयार्ड का बर्ड होता था वो 6 महीने में, 1 साल में, 1.5 साल में 750 ग्राम का होता था। हफ्ते में एक आध बार अंडा दे देता था तो लोग खुश हो जाते थे। एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम द लेइंग ईयर प्रोडक्शन जो अंडे का होता था वो लगभग बहुत अच्छा क्वालिटी का मुर्गी होता था तो 120 से 170 होता था। And today, what we are having, more than 330, a tremendous improvement. And all this is possible with 2 effects. One, we should have a very good quality genetic germplasm, which has a potential to produce. And secondly, for exhibiting their potential, production potential, we need to have a good nutrition and a good health status. So altogether, if we'll see a good genetic material, a good quality nutrition, and a perfect health status, ultimately give rise to a maximum production. And today, when we are talking about maximum production, means a production with quality. We have a lot more concerned about our health also. And when we are talking about healthy nutrition to the bird, it means again indirectly it is going to hit the human health also. 1970 के दशक में, 1980 के दशक में, 1990 के दशक में, इवन हमारा 21वीं शताब्दी में गुणवत्ता पे पहले कभी उतना ध्यान नहीं दिया गया। बट अल्टीमेटली because of our reluctant attitude, the government, the system, they have come up with certain food safety regulations in the country. And with the induction of Food Safety and Standard Authority of India in 2006 and their regulations in 2011, led to a new horizon in the sector of food in our country. And I must tell you, as a poultry specialist, as a poultry producer, as a poultry entrepreneur, you are also a part of the food basket for this country. And looking to the changing behavior of food pattern in our country, when we were children, just see what was there in our food basket. Only the staple food, maybe chapati, dal, sabji. And look for today's trend, what we are having in our food basket. Now it is our children, they decide what we are going to have it in breakfast or lunch or dinner. In our time, the fruit in our diet, usually we used to have fruits whenever we got sick or there is some festival. But now, every day we have a calculated food. In the morning we'll have a fruit breakfast, in the afternoon we'll have some cereals, in the evening we'll have some protein diet, something like that. Everything is well planned. And now you, as a poultry entrepreneur, are a part to this food basket. Look to the spending pattern on the food basket nowadays. Earlier we used to have 10 to 20% of our income in the food. Now it is more than 60%. And when we are talking about how much we are investing in our food, ultimately it is linked with our health, our choices, our longevity. Madam Kalpana, you can come here on my seat. I can see you. Come on the front. Welcome to this gathering. Yeah, please. So a total entirely different system is evolving not only in our country, across the globe. Whenever we are talking about in the past situations, we were talking about whatever we are producing remains for our own consumption. Now, whatever we are producing is available globally. And when I am talking about it is available globally, it means you need to abide by the rules, regulations and food safety standards world over. And with the profound privilege and pride, I say since last 3-4 decades that it is only the poultry industry which is self-regulatory. Look to this wonderful bird. Time and again, we get a kick. Drawbacks in terms of either avian influenza or in terms of very high rise in feed costs, say for example maize and soybean, shortage of vaccine, shortage of pharmaceutical products, or even the seasonality. But the moment this wonderful bird get a kickback, it bounce back with the same throttle, maintaining the growth rate at a common pace. Now, when we are talking about stepping into the new era, there are new challenges. Why I'm talking about? Because when Mr. Sanjay told me for a keynote address, I thought I must put all the things in a round shape, giving you a little bit thought-provoking things, so that later in the afternoon session we'll go around the things and we can shape the future of poultry through our informatics, through our resources and through our intellect churning. This wonderful egg has been termed as bird fruit by Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath ji. When he called it as a punchy phal, it has given a lot of insights. Even Mahatma Gandhi, he advocated the consumption of egg. But till today, we are not having the acceptance of this particular egg in our regular diet. And certainly we should know why it is. Although we all accept it is the cheapest source of balanced most nutrition in our diet. And already I spoke that if we want to address the challenges of malnutrition, particularly in the children in this country, then this egg can become a wonderful tool in getting this. Or even if we want to have the eradication of poverty from our population, then certainly for women empowerment, for eradication of poverty, this can also become a wonderful tool. And I still remember in 2007 when Ministry announced the Rural Backyard Poultry Development Plan, the then Finance Minister, he briefed the press about this project in this spirit. He says it is not only going to get the supplementary income to our women farmers, rather it will give a good level of nutrition, a good balanced protein in getting a food security and a balanced food to our children and women in this country. Later on, when we were analyzing the data across the country, it was also surprising that 30% of the egg production, I am talking about 10th 5-year plan, 30% of the total egg production was coming from the backyard sector. So when we are talking in terms of 30%, it means it's a huge amount. But certainly at some point of time, when we are chasing our targets with the speed, we need to worry about our inputs also. Inputs, when we are talking about poultry, input in terms of, again, a quality improvement in the germplasm, a quality improvement in the nutrition, and quality improvement in the health. Last month कोडेक्स एलिमेंटेरियस का मीटिंग भी हुआ, वहाँ पे बहुत सारी चर्चाएं हुई जिसमें फूड सेफ्टी भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट था. और फूड सेफ्टी इसलिए कि नाउ एवरीबडी इज कंसर्न्ड अबाउट द सेफ्टी ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट रीचिंग टू योर टेबल. एनी प्रोडक्ट विच इज रीचिंग टू योर टेबल एज अ फूड. और उसमें सबसे ज़्यादा जो फिगर आउट हुआ वो पोल्ट्री प्रोडक्ट्स और मीट एंड मीट प्रोडक्ट्स था. बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली नाउ वी हैव ऑल्सो स्टार्टेड रिलाइंग ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर फैक्ट that apart from other food products, these are the animal product which are paramount nowadays. Yes, friends, there are certain challenges in time to come, which of course I must appreciate the efforts of Poultry Federation of India, that in the last year when challenges regarding animal welfare issues have come up, there was a problem with the poultry industry, but they have come forward. And this is what in the last Calcutta convention in IPR in the month of August, we discussed that across the country we need to have some information system, so that if things are going on in one part of the country should reach definitely with the flow to other part of country also. That not only helps in keeping us abreast with the situation, but also provides an opportunity to join the hands. And when collective efforts are there, I think problem will never remain as a problem. Always solutions are there, and we can very easily make approaches to those solutions, and everybody can work for the society. And yes, the objective of this industry is very novel. It should reach to the end user, it should reach to the consumer in a right spirit. और दोस्तों, अगर मैं आपसे कहूं कि हमारे यहाँ खासकर पोल्ट्री में पब्लिसिटी का अभाव है तो गलत नहीं होगा. हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस नोज what this powerful pack of egg contains? Everybody is engaged in one or other way, aging more than 60 years of age, in getting few of the pills of either vitamins and minerals, costing from 50 rupees to 100 rupees per tablet or per capsule. But see this wonderful power packed egg, it contains everything in optimum amount and still the cost is 3 rupees to 4 rupees. Everything is organic, everything is acceptable. How many of us knows this? We say egg is very good for vision, but how many of us knows that it prevents the macular degeneration? जो आँख की मांसपेशियां होती हैं उसके डीजनरेशन को रोकता है, और उसके डीजनरेशन को रोकता है तो जस्ट देख लीजिए एक ऐसा व्यक्ति जिसने अंडे का लगातार उपयोग किया हो, उसकी विजन देख लीजिए, उसकी आंखों की रोशनी देख लीजिए, और दूसरा जिसने अंडे का उपयोग नहीं किया हो उसको देख लीजिए. What I mean to say, if we want to remain very close to the nature, we need to use the natural products rather than going for artificial products which are for temporary use. For regular use, we need to have the natural products which are available with us as a food material. You look for the composition of egg, so beautiful and capable of giving a new life. इससे ज़्यादा बैलेंस चीज कोई हो सकता है? But in a time to come, when we are going with a growth rate of not less than 10% per year, and 10% per year, you can imagine it's a tremendous growth. और वो हाल 10% ग्रोथ का तब है जब 6 महीने ना तो हम अंडा खाते हैं ना खाने देते हैं. अभी श्रावण का महीना है, अभी नवरात्रि है, अभी इसको खा नहीं सकते, आज मंगलवार है या आज शनिवार है. And then also we are having a growth rate of 10%. And an unexpected outcome I have seen last week, the data of NSSO, which says the population of our country ranging between 17 years to 35 years of age. When I am talking about this category, 17 years to 35 years of age, it means the persons those are eligible for working, जो सबसे ज़्यादा काम करने के लिए एलिजिबल एज ग्रुप है, उस ग्रुप की बात कर रहे हैं हम. Almost 70% of them are non-vegetarian now. And when we are talking about this group becoming almost 70% non-vegetarian, it is not out of their taste, it is out of their requirement, it is out of their economy. So still what I feel, the future is very bright. If we need to continue with the same pace, with the same growth rate, I think we need to see for few challenges. और मेरा मानना है जब तक चुनौतियां नहीं होंगी आपकी प्रगति भी नहीं होगी. तो जब भी कोई चुनौती आपके सामने आए उसको बहुत हैप्पीली हमको एक्सेप्ट करना चाहिए, एड्रेस करना चाहिए, क्योंकि जब हम उन चुनौतियों को देखते हैं, उनको स्वीकार करते हैं, तभी उनसे लड़ने का हौसला आता है. और सबसे बड़ी चुनौती जो आने वाले समय में होगी वो ये न्यूट्रिशन का होगा. मेज, which is an important constituent of the poultry feed, आने वाले समय में आपको इस चुनौती को देखना होगा. Why? Because अभी रिसेंटली आपने नई पॉलिसीज देखी हैं. इथेनॉल की परमिशन हो गया है, DDGS का यूज लिमिटेड होते जा रहा है, सप्लीमेंट्री फूड एंड फीड का प्रोविजन आप कितना ही ढूंढते रहिए, बट जो ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम है उसको हम लोग रिप्लेस नहीं कर पाएंगे. अगेन, whenever we are talking about GM crops, there are certain limitations. Government is also hesitant, but now I think धीरे धीरे आप लोगों के बार बार बात करने से वो हेजिटेशन कम होते जा रहा है. और हमारा जो लास्ट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का नेशनल एडवाइजरी कमेटी का मीटिंग हुआ था। रणपाल ढांडा जी खत्री जी थे वहाँ पे। बहुत पुरजोर आवाज़ में दोनों ने इस बात को कहा था, मंत्री जी से, रूपाला जी से कहा था। ही सेड कि देखते हैं। बट इशू ये है कि जब हम लोग प्रॉब्लम को, अपने समस्याओं को बताते हैं तो उनके प्रोबेबल सॉल्यूशंस भी हम ही बताएंगे। सरकार को नहीं पता है कि उनको कैसे उन स्थितियों से निपटना होगा। फील्ड के सॉल्यूशंस हम लोगों के पास होते हैं। आने वाले समय में डेफिनेटली ये मेज तो आपके लिए एक चैलेंज होगा। सोया के भी जो अपफ्रंट प्राइसेस हाई होते हैं वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम होगा। बट ऑफ एंड ऑन आई हैव सीन कि समटाइम्स दीज आर आर्टिफिशियली क्रिएटेड ऑल्सो। व्हेन आई वाज इन द मिनिस्ट्री देन ऑल्सो मेज के लिए सब रोता रहता था। बट वेन एवर आई यूज टू ओपन इट अंडर OGL फॉर इम्पोर्ट, पूरे साल में 1 किलो भी इम्पोर्ट नहीं होता था। बट प्राइसेस रिमेन्स स्टेबल। दैट मीन्स कहीं ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम जो मार्केटिंग इंटेलिजेंस में था, जो सप्लाई डिमांड मैट्रिक्स था, उसमें कहीं ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम था। और दूसरा, मेरा उस समय ये मानना था कि सप्लाई डिमांड मैट्रिक्स को हमें डिस्टर्ब नहीं करना चाहिए। इफ थिंग्स आर इन डिमांड, लेट देम गो लाइक दैट। तो वो चीज़ें चलती भी थी। और अब भी जो ज्वलन समस्या 2007-8 में थी वो 2023 में थी। एंड आफ्टर हैविंग अ ग्रोथ ऑफ मच मोर, I tell you, when I joined the ministry, the worth of poultry in the country was around 40,000 crores. When I left, it was around 93,000 crores, and as on date, it is 1.5 lakh crores. Worth is increasing, growth is there. It means, in nutshell, if I can conclude, it is we do have an efficient system in our entrepreneurs also to address the issues. Although we remain cribbing, ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, but ultimately when you look for the success at the end of the year, always growth rate is constant. And this is how I tell this small bird as a wonder bird. Wonder bird in the country because it is able to address our national issues. So on one hand, when we were describing this as a poultry farming long back, now we are addressing it as a poultry industry. I think a big change you people have brought in this country in transforming poultry farm into a poultry industry. So hats off to all the entrepreneurs, right from top to bottom, and looking forward for a very fruitful interventions, discussions, interactions in the afternoon. Will time and again come to you. I think I've taken much of the time, and in the afternoon again will be available to have live discussions with you. If at all any problems are there, we are ready to have common discussions, solutions, their addressal, and then forwarding this to the end user and also to the policy implementers. Thank you so much, especially Sanjay ji, for giving me the opportunity to come over here. I think he is doing a wonderful job going across the country, trying to make everybody aware of the problems, the relevance, the importance, and a way forward in poultry. And please convey my regards to Ganu Dada also, because ultimately he has initiated it, and really I appreciate the spark which these two gentlemen, the Sanjay and Ganu Dada, they are putting across. And I am sure that these sparks in a time to become a beam of light which definitely sparkle the poultry industry in the country. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here, and this is my first presentation in Chandigarh. And my topic is going to be on precision nutrition in broiler farming. When I received the list of topics from the organizers, somehow this topic was so close to my heart because I always love precision. So I thought I just informed the organizers that I will present on this precision nutrition topic. So again, without taking much time, of course there are few other speakers out there. Shukla sir was mentioning about if whatever the research we are doing at lab, if it is not disseminated to the field, it is waste. So there will be a lot of knowledge sharing informations out there. So please keep your pens and papers ready because there are a lot of numbers. Even though I'm a nutritionist, I like how we can link these nutrition with economics. So there will be a lot of interesting numbers. I'm sure that will be going to be useful in your day-to-day operations. Okay, I thought of understanding the definition for precision nutrition. I think nowadays this artificial intelligence is there everywhere. So this is not the definition from Venkatesh. So I asked this chat GPT, what is precision nutrition? And this is the definition given by the chat GPT. But I was so impressed with that on this definition. For example, it is about the precise and balanced nutrition to meet the specific needs of broiler at each space. And even the artificial intelligence tool also is also interested about the welfare, the losses. So very interesting definition given by the ChatGPT. Of course, there are a lot of breeds available in the market, and every company is trying to maximize the potential of the breed year on year. But unfortunately, when we come to the farm level, maybe sometimes we are not able to achieve the genetic potential. There could be a lot of reasons, maybe feed being the major thing. The other reasons like health, environment, sometimes the chick quality. A lot of other reasons are playing a major role, which is not allowing the bird to perform to the potential. So on the agenda for today's topic, in my presentation is on nutrition. So I will try to keep the information simple and also to share with you all some interesting latest updates, what we do at Evasion from the nutrition point of view. Wherever I go, when we ask the farmers what are your issues, they always talk about, okay, I'm not achieving the good FCR, or my day gain is not good. Sometimes I'm not able to achieve my first week body weight in the broilers. Maybe I'm achieving my first week body weight, but in later on age, maybe third week, fourth week, I'm not getting the day gain. Sometimes the feed intake is not good. Maybe some customers who are in processing, they may think that, okay, I'm achieving all these things, but I'm not getting my meat yield. Or even Shukla sir was talking about the food quality, or the meat quality, or the egg quality. Sometimes we need to focus on all these things. But at the end, as a poultry producers, the cost of production is very, very important for us, which determines our profit. So we'll talk something on these aspects. Sometime very long back I heard in New Zealand, they achieved the FCR of 1.25 or 1.28 in broilers. Even there are some in global conference, they are talking about whether achieving 1:1 FCR is possible. But when I see some results in India, sometimes I think whether it is a dream or it is a reality. So I come to know some poultry producers in this part, in Chandigarh also, are achieving these performances. At 35 days, they are achieving like 2.5 kg body weight with FCR of 1.42 at 3.75% mortality with 65 to 70 grams day gain with a EP of 510. So their days are gone. Sometimes these EPF are being mentioned for only for developed countries or can be achieved only in closed houses. So this is the results of some farmers who are achieving in Chandigarh. So my heartfelt wishes to them and to the companies who are achieving these performances. So let's say my topic will be focusing more on the FCR front, how to improve the FCR. Let's keep some target. Okay, how I can improve my FCR by 10 points. At the same time, keep my bottom line very clear. So I'll be going to touch on these 10 points. Maybe each one factor is going to help me to improve 1 point of FCR. Maybe at the end of the day, we can able to achieve this 10 point of FCR. So I'm going to touch a little bit on the nutrient requirement for today's modern breed. Then I will talk a little bit on the raw material quality with specific emphasis on maize and soya. Then I will just share some of the formulation strategies. Then what are the latest amino acid requirement for today's bird? What are the energy levels we need? What are the calcium phosphorus level we need? And I will just again talk about a little bit about the feed farm and the quality. And so I want to touch something on the nutrition aspect for meat yield also, because there are some producers who are into processing. And finally at the end, okay, we can achieve the best FCR, but we are not able to achieve the better returns or the margins. There is not going to be of any use. So I'm going to touch some interesting point on the margin over feed cost, and at the end some latest technologies in precision feeding aspect. So on the first aspect, let's come to the nutrition requirements. Of course, in India, a lot of breeds are there. So every breeding companies, genetic companies trying to come up with the nutrition requirements. For example, for Hubbard, for Cobb, for Ross. there are latest nutrition requirements are there. So my request is that whatever the breed you are having, try to follow that breed requirement. That should be your baseline. Try to follow that. Most of the genetic companies try to come up with nutritional requirements every 3 to 4 years once. For example, in case of aviation, we try to come up with nutritional requirements for either a grandparent stock or parent stock or for broiler every 4 year once. So try to know what is the latest recommendation from the breeding companies and try to follow that nutrition requirement in your operation. That is the first thing. So which means feed your breed. That will give you the better performances. So next comes the raw material quality. So I will talk about a little bit on the maize. So these are some of the pictures which I took during the feed mill visit, what I visited in different parts of India. Okay, a good quality maize, not too bad. Maybe a little bit bad quality with lot of corn cobs. Okay, this is other picture. This other picture, you can see the top one and the bottom one. This picture I took it in the same feed mill. I'm sure you will see some difference in these two maize. Both are good quality maize, but you can see a difference. I don't know how many of you really observe the difference. Okay, again, this is a very small grains with lot of cobs. So these are the things finally we are ending up in buying these raw materials. So this is difference what I was highlighting. Both maize are good, the yellow circle one. Just you can see only the white color, which is the gem portion. Both maize are not same. Quality wise is good, but if you do test this maize, it is not going to be same. You can see the white one here and the white one here, gem portion, completely different picture. So this is the white portion what I was mentioning, the center. The photo which I shown before is completely different because that is the main energy portion or the oil content in the maize. And what I understand from some of the professors, like in India, there are 100 hybrid varieties being registered. We don't know what kind of maize varieties we are buying for our operation. So these are the 100 hybrid maize varieties being registered, and these are all already there in the market. For example, farmers who are growing maize in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, maybe these varieties will be already there. So generally in maize we know like the protein will be from 7 to 12% and starch will be from 65 to 70%. And Nitin Garg, he's a PhD student, he's a ICR student, and he covered these 80 varieties of maize from India, and he studied what is the starch nutrient variation of these hybrid varieties. And again, lot of huge variations is there in these maize varieties. So again, we know from starch, the two major carbohydrate components are amylose and amylopectin. These are the two major carbohydrate structures. And especially, I want to focus a little bit more on the amylose because this amylose is a carbohydrate structure which is a little bit resistant to digestion. Even for example, now government of India is focusing much on these millets for the human beings. Maybe a reason because in millets there are some resistant starch. When humans consume those millets instead of rice, it will not make our blood sugar to rise very high quickly. So similar the case maybe for the poultry also, we need to think about that. Why not we adopt the same concept for the poultry? For example, in that 25% of amylose, they say like around 2 to 3% will be the resistant starch. Maybe this resistant starch may be going to change the scenario in the broilers also. Garg has found that almost like 2 to 3% is the resistant starch at present in the maize varieties prevalent in India. But we need to wait and see how these starch are going to make impact in the birds. For example, some customers tell me, when I change from maize to bajra, I'm getting a better FCR. Those days are gone. Maybe in those days we think that when I change from maize to bajra, the performance will go down. But there are customers who are saying, when I use to bajra, the results are good. Maybe I think the resistant starch could be a major reason because the resistant starch in bajra is much higher than maize. So it is taking longer time. So the birds are getting a sustained release of glucose, so the performance are much better. So these are the new areas what we need to focus on. So this is again internal data from Evonik, not from my side. So they collected a lot of maize from India from June 19 to April 2020. This is the energy profile of maize. We always think maize energy means 3,300 or maximum 3,350. If you see the maize samples collected in India from all over the parts, from November month onwards, November, December, January, February, the energy level is something around like 3,400. This was tested in NIR, not in one sample. We collected samples from all over India. So which means generally nutritionists or formulators always take 3,300. So are we underestimating the energy? Maybe now we are in December, maybe if this is the energy scenario, are we underestimating? Maybe this energy is going extra to the bird. Could be a reason why always the results are good during these months. But when our market prices are poor, this excess energy, if you are not considering, which is going loss. So we need to take into consideration, not straight away taking 3,300 calories throughout the year. We need to have a lab on our own. We need to check the raw materials and need to take the real energy values into our formulation, which makes a huge impact on the bottom line. So again, this is a personal information. This was shared by, I just took this information from Dr. Manju, who worked as a nutritionist in Jaffa. What they did as a poultry producing companies, what are the raw materials they are getting from all over the in India from their traders, they segregated state-wise, Bihar, AP, Madhya Pradesh and UP. You can see the blue color bars are the protein. This was their 1 year average in 2021. So for them, the Maharashtra and Karnataka maize seems to be a very good, maybe the protein is coming around like 8 to 8.5. In Bihar, their year average finding was the protein was 7.5. In Andhra Pradesh, 8.2. In Madhya Pradesh, 8.1. In UP, 7.4. This is their observation. So protein is again not same. It is keep on varying because these 100 hybrid varieties, we don't know which state is buying, sowing that variety and producing that maize. So as a poultry producers, having your own lab is very, very important, and analyzing that raw materials, knowing your raw material scenario, you need to formulate accordingly. And again, because of this protein, the lysine amino acids also will vary. So we can see within India, 1.5% variations in the protein and also the amino acids. So coming to again for energy in corn, Maharashtra and Karnataka Makka sample seems to be having a good energy source, like about 3,400. Maybe sometimes the maize coming from Bihar and UP are on an average around like 3,300. So we need to know from which traders you are buying and that maize is coming from which state. So consider those energy levels into your formulation matrix. So that's about the simple thing about the maize. Let's come to soya. So this is again picture which I took in a feed mill. Same feed mill, when I took from different bags, you can see the color variation on the right side, a little bit dark color compared to the left one, a little bit pale. Maybe this soya may be a little bit overcooked soya, but this is the reality now. So again, I was visiting a customer, I think this was in Kolkata. So this customer was saying that I'm not getting body weight in broilers after starter phase, after 14 days of age. So he was telling something, then when I visited the feed mill, then he told me he's having a two source of soya. One is like, it was supposed to be claimed as containing 46% soya, and the next one was having a 44% soya. So he told me, he said, okay, this seems to be a better quality soya, so he is using in the first stage, maybe pre-starter. Maybe the 44% soya he is using in starter and finisher. But when I look at that sample, I had a doubt whether even this soya will not have this much protein, because you can see a lot of hulls there in that soya. So I asked some report from the customer, but unfortunately he was not having any lab report. So how I can decide as a nutritionist? Lab report is not there, I'm at the feed mill. So one good tool what we can do at feed mill is that doing the bulk density. Simply take 1 liter jar, any milk jar or whatever they can, put your soya there and just weigh it. Just see what is the weight of that soya. So this soya, it was supposed to be claimed as 46%, it was showing 600 gram, around 608 gram. The other soya was showing only 500 gram. So which means this soya might be with more of soya hulls or might be adulterated with DRB. So that's what I was very sure when I see this bulk density, because of this variation, having more fiber, I'm sure less energy will be there. So I told that customer, that could be a reason why your birds are not performing well. So these kind of simple bulk tests, spot tests, you can try to do in your operation, even though you don't have a lab. So what I did, I collected that samples and subjected to for lab analysis. So this sample was supposed to have 46% of protein, but it had only 44.5. The other sample, it was supposed to have 44, but it was having only 41% protein. So that's why the farmer was not getting the expected FCR and day gain. But you can see the fiber level. Here it is 6.25, it is 9% fiber. So more health, more, maybe, I don't know whether any DRB has been adulterated with soya. So with this profile, I'm sure the energy level will be low. And many times, whenever I ask for any lab report with any integrator, they always show me moisture percent and protein percent in soya. No other parameter. If it is Makka means only moistures. Even they do not test have the protein. Please, the things are changing. The birds are so having the potential, but we need to test all parameters. I always tell the poultry producers, you need to see maize in soya, because we should not think soya means only protein. Because of these differences, for example, the poor quality soy will have only energy level of 2075. But if I formulate for 2300, which is the normal thing, I'm underestimating, the birds will lose the performance. So we need to test all these parameters. And again, because of this high fiber, we know the NSP content will cause gut health, which will affect the performance. Okay, then what I did, I always interested in economics. So we assume, okay, if I assume 45% will be this protein in soya, this will be my protein level, energy level, all amino acid level in that formulation. But in reality, the bird is not getting because of this adulteration. So where we can say like, finally the bird is getting like 1% less energy and almost like 5% less amino acids because of the variations coming from the soya quality. And from our experience, based upon our research, for every 1% energy the birds are taking less, we can expect 4 to 5 point FCR loss. If for every 5% amino acids intake is low, again 4 to 5 point loss. So if the farmer is getting this much body weight and FCR, like he may not lose means his FCR may increase. He will get less body weight. When I calculate the production cost, like just because of the soya quality, he is losing 2.25 rupees. If someone is placing like 10 lakhs birds per month, think about the economic loss impact just because of soya quality. Okay, then comes to the broken rice. When the maize price has increased, everybody started using for other alternative energy source ingredients. So broken rice is one of the ingredients what we had. And most of the times when I visiting the feed mills, the farmers may say, I'm having a broken rice. Sir, you can take your normal energy values. But when we visit the feed mill, when I poke the samples, almost in single feed mill, in single heap of lot, I could see 7 or 8 of broken rice. Because finally, all these poultry producers end up buying in these broken rice from the nearby millers, maybe a parboiled rice, maybe a raw rice. So again, when we test these broken rice, we can see the protein range from 7.5% to 9.3%. Variations of protein in broken rice itself. So broken rice means it's not only 8%, it's not only 7.5%. And again, you can see the variation in the total ash. So again, this will impact a lot on the energy levels. Sorry about that. Okay, so on the quality analysis, whomever is having the lab in their own feed mill, or even if you are sending samples to an outside lab, these are the 10 parameters important to test any ingredient. Either it is Makka, soya, DRB, whatever may be the ingredient. Don't test only protein, don't test only the moisture. These 10 parameters are important for all your ingredient. Otherwise, we are missing the boat. So if possible, have your own lab. The wet chemistry, nowadays, these NAR machines are affordable in the market. It's worth investing on these equipments. Otherwise, maximizing performance will be a much challenge. So coming to the third point on the feed formulation strategies, as I told before, the first thing is we need to follow the breed spec. Otherwise, again, performance will be compromised. Nowadays we have to formulate based upon digestible amino acids. So that is the first thing we need to follow in formulations. So these are again interesting thing for me. Some nutritionists, they take some safety margins while formulating. They know I'm not getting the maize and soya quality consistently throughout the year. So what they will tell me, they say I will keep some safety margins. But how much safety margins we can keep? This is one interesting data from AONA. For example, this 2018, these 10 ingredients, this 2018, these values, what I mentioned is not the actual protein content. This is the CV variation. Okay, quite consistent. Most of the, in 2018, like almost except broken rice and PBM means the chicken meal, all the CVs are below 10%, which is quite good. As a nutritionist, I always take CV for any laboratory test as maximum 5%. But in 2020, based upon Evonik average data, you can see the CV are getting increased. So that means the raw material qualities keep on changing. So that's why if you are doing analysis in your own lab, try to do CV for the lab reports also, and then accordingly you keep safety margins in your formulation. Some customers, they tell me, Dr. Saab, I'm formulating as per the BEAD recommendation, but sometimes I'm not getting the results. The reasons could be because of these variations in the raw materials. When it comes to the when the market situations are so volatile, when the broiler prices are coming down, the first instinct is to reduce the feed cost. And again, to me, it's not about reducing the feed cost. The key thing is feed cost optimization. So that is met. It's not about reducing the feed cost. This is one interesting thing what I try to follow when purchasing a raw material. Before we talk about the quality, when we purchasing the raw material, I think most of you are aware of this relative value. For example, I listed some raw materials here. Maybe this may be the current prevailing rate. Maybe in northern India, if makai is like 25 rupees, if broken rice is 21, bajra is 23.5. I always take the nutrient value and compare with the cost parity, with the unit cost. For example, if broken rice is 21, bajra is 23.5. For the energy, it is showing a green color, so which means compared to maize, considering bajra and broken rice is much economical into the formulations. Coming to the protein ingredients, so I always keep soybean as a base. I compare all other protein sources. For example, hyper soya. If I consider 48 is the price for normal soya, if hyper soya is 52, some customers may think, oh no, it is 4 to 5 rupees more, so my feed cost will go up. So they will not consider hyper soya inclusion. But if we take the unit cost wise, hyper soya is much economical compared to the normal soya. So this is how sometimes we need to take decisions in purchasing the raw materials also. Before making the formulations, whether I can buy this raw material, whether I can use this raw material or not. So sometimes these relative values will be of some help to us. You can see interesting, the down the line, sorry it is below, the backside people may not be able to see. If you see the MBM, when I see some formulations of some customers, they always force restrict to keep minimum 25 kilo or minimum 30 kilo of MBM in the formulation. If you see here, when I compare to the 48 rupees price of soybean meal with 43 rupees price for MBM, MBM is not economical. So there is no point in forcing the farmer to take the MBM. So these are some of these key things what we need to consider even before making the formulations based upon this relative value. Okay, poultry is all about numbers. FCR 1, 2, 3, 4. This is nothing but this is the cost of 1 point of FCR today. Or I can say this is the equivalent cost of 1 point of FCR. If your average feed cost is 40 rupees, the broiler feed cost, and if you are achieving FCR of somewhere around 1.65 to 1.7, so almost for every ton of rupees, we are spending 234 rupees to get 1 point of FCR. So this is the cost of today's 1 point of FCR. So let's take, if I want to improve my FCR from my current thing to 10 points, so which means 2,340 rupees is the money what you have in your hand. So in that range you can play around by putting any additives, putting in hyper soya. So that is the thing how we have to decide on making the formulation changes. So next, coming to the amino acids. For example, as I mentioned before, all breeding companies are working to improve their genetic potential of the breed. In Avigin also, every year we try to do at least minimum like 50 to 60 trials every year on the nutritional aspect. So then we come up with recommendations for our customers, either it is on amino acids or energy. So coming to the amino acids, we know these are the list of essential amino acids, and most of us are much familiar with lysine, methionine and threonine. And in our broiler formulation, we will add these supplementally. And whenever I ask why not valine and arginine, isoleucine are not there in your formula, most of the producers may say, Dr. Saab, I'm a live bird market. These amino acids are only important for processing, so I'm not using. That's not the case. These amino acids are very important even for FCR. So maybe down the slides you can see that. So on amino acids, I will touch some key research updates only on these amino acids: lysine, methionine plus cysteine, branch chain amino acids, and arginine. So coming to the lysine, this is one of the our Avagen latest trial. So in this trial, we have reduced the amino acids by 20% from our breed recommendation, and we have gave 20% more also. We have just seen what is the optimum level to achieve the best FCR, also to achieve the optimum economics also. So to keep it simple, this BP means that is a balanced protein. Balanced protein is nothing but the amino acids. ME means energy. So I just request you, all of you, just to focus only on the BP. So this 100 means 100% of the breed recommendations. 80 means 20% lower than breed recommendation. 120 means 20% above breed recommendation. You can see here, this graph, you can see a lot of colors. So which means for every 10% reduction in amino acids, the bird body weight is responding by 60 grams. So all modern genetic birds, it may be cob or Ross, are responding much for, the response is much for amino acids. If you see on the energy side, only 2 colors. So energy is not a crucial nutrient going forward nowadays. Those days are gone. Keeping 50 kg oil, 60 kg oil in the formulation. Today's modern genetic birds are responding much for amino acids. So that's the key thing what we have to take it from today's thing. So this is for the body weight and for FCR. Again, for example, if you are reducing the amino acids from 1.5, your FCR may go to 1.8 also, when you are reducing the amino acids by 20%. So again, for energy, yeah, compared to body weight, if the energy is a little bit important for FCR, but again, not to the extent how amino acids are responding. So only like 3 colors we can see, like hardly like 3 to 4 points, but there is a big impact of amino acids on the FCR. So that is about the lysine, simple information. Coming to this methionine and cysteine. Most of the nutritionists follow some ratio of methionine and cysteine to lysine. Some may follow a common ratio. In pre-starter, starter, finisher, they keep a same ratio. But in one of our internal trial in Avagen, keeping 72% as M plus ratio to lysine, we have achieved this much FCR. But when we increase the ratio from 70 to 82, even a constant, there is a drop in FCR. That means their FCR is coming down. And some customers follow step down, keeping higher ratio in pre-starter, but lower in the finisher. But generally we don't suggest this nowadays, whichever may be the breed you are following. So the ideal one will be a step-up ratio, pre-starter, starter, and finisher. But especially for tropical countries like India, keeping methionine cysteine ratio to lysine, anything above 78 is always giving good results. It may be any season, winter, summer. So that's what you can find, that compared to all the either the common ratio or step down ratio, having a step up ratio is giving the best results for M plus C. So coming to branch chain amino acids, generally leucine, isoleucine, valine are the 3 branch chain amino acids. And these are the amino acids which we need to focus moving forward, because even like Shukla sir was mentioning about, now every farmers are using DDGS because of the issues faced by the ethanol production. So whenever we are using DDGS, one of the main problem with using DDGS or maize gluten meal or MBM, your leucine level will go up. When the leucine level will go up, it will negatively interact with lysine, and whatever the lysine level you are keeping, this excess leucine will not allow the lysine to work. So finally, your performance are compromised. So that's why, since now DDGS is 3 to 4% is a common ingredient in our formulation, because these, one good thing again in India, these amino acids are now available in the market. So if we can buy these and we can make use of these. So again, as I mentioned before, the normal standard should be 110% should be your maximum leucine to lysine ratio. If anything goes above 110%, it will negatively interact with lysine and your FCR will be compromised. So how to nullify that? The only option what we have is that you have to increase your valine level in your formulation to nullify this excess leucine. So you can see here, normally most of the broiler producers are keeping 75% is the ratio of valine to lysine. Whenever your leucine is more, by using more DDGS, more corn gluten meal, increase your valine. From 75 you have to go to 80, 82. Otherwise FCR will be compromised. Same trend what you can see in FCR. Whenever you are increasing your valine, FCR is coming down. So valine means it's not only for breast meat or the leg meat. Even for FCR, valine is very important. So this is the other amino acid what I want to highlight, arginine. So why I want to touch arginine? Of course, in now Chandigarh, the climate is chill. Sometimes farmers may be getting ascites because the curtains are closed in the farms, no ventilation, bird may get ascites. So arginine is one very important amino acid which will play a major role in blood vessels. It will dilate the blood vessels. So during these kind of chill climate, having a little bit elevated level of arginine in your broiler formulation will help to reduce your ascites related mortality. Even in summer during heat stress, arginine is very important. And I was having a very good experience about this arginine. I was in Hyderabad airport during Poultry India Expo. So after check-in, I was near a pharmacy. There was a person who was next to me, and he was buying L-arginine tablet for him, not for poultry. I asked him, why you are buying L-arginine? And also he was buying carnitine. He told me, my dietitian in my hospital, I'm a heart patient, only I'm taking a blood thinner tablet. So he asked me to take L-arginine because L-arginine will play a role in dilating the blood vessels. So the same thing, it is important for poultry also, especially in this part of world, North India. So try to have more L-arginine, your FCR will be much better. So this is the ratio what we have to follow. This is the recommendation for Asian breed. So again, follow the recommended ratios for all other breeds to achieve the optimum performances. So coming to energy, I think this I shown in my previous slide itself. All today's modern genetic birds, it is not responding much for energy. If you see the latest recommendation of COB as well as for Asian, the energy was reduced compared to their 4 years before recommendation. The reason is, this is the reason. So not to put much pressure on the energy side. So the same thing for FCR also. Then coming to macro minerals. So macro minerals, I will just touch only on the calcium and phosphorus. And again, before like 42 days, the birds are getting 2.2 kg. Now 32 days, the birds are getting same body weight. So improving the skeletal strength is very much important. Apart from nutrition, all genetic companies are working to improve the leg strength or skeletal strength through genetics itself from the pedigree selections. So Avagen is also like focusing on these things. And again, from Avagen point of view, we reduce calcium and available phosphorus compared to our last recommendation. So again, giving excess calcium, excess phosphorus is not advisable. Sometimes excess calcium will also cause wet litter and loose dropping. So all these modern genetic birds are much capable of even getting a good results with lower level of calcium and phosphorus. So follow the recommended calcium phosphorus from the breeding companies. So coming to feed form and quality, of course, to get the end body weight, the first week body weight of broiler is very, very important. To achieve the first week body weight, the feed intake has to happen good. And for the chicks to have a better feed intake, the feed form and quality is very, very important. So generally, this is a simple sieve test developed by Avagen. Just putting the feed and just shake at the farm level, we can know how much % of the particle size is below 1 mm, 1 to 2 mm, and 2 to 3 mm. So these again, I suggest every poultry producers to focus on the particle size. So this is how the particle size will look like: 1 mm, 1 to 2 mm, 2 to 3, and above 3 mm. Especially for the gizzard development, the feed particle size is very, very much important. There are some customers who show me some photos. With mash feeds, we can see this is a very good gizzard and the very clear demarcation of the proventriculus. We can see very, very much typical this kind of gizzard with mash feed, but with pellet feed, sometimes we may end up seeing the gizzard and proventriculus like this. Sometimes I used to confuse which is gizzard and which is proventriculus. Always this fine powder. This is a pre-starter feed. In this pre-starter feed, they were having 30% powder. So that 30% powder will cause proventriculus like this. So again, digestion will not happen good. So your FCR will get affected. This is again one of the trial with Avagen. A good control is a good pellet. With 35 days, they achieved a 2 kg body weight with 1.64 FCR. Sometimes pellet with little bit powder, 50% powder, 50% pellet, almost your FCR is compromised by 8 points. With too much fine powder, anything above like 30-40%, your FCR will be compromised by 10 points. We may be adding all these amino acids, good nutrients, good vitamins, but finally, if our feed quality is not good, we are losing the FCR. So this is the recommendations again from Avagen, the particle size, what we need to have in different feed, pre-starter, starter and finisher to achieve FCR. So generally in pre-starter feed, the fine particles should be less than 10%. That is the maximum limit. If it is above 10%, this is in one farm what I observed, they were having 40% fine powder in the pre-starter feed. I'm sure there will be a loss of 3 to 4 point of FCR only because of this particle size. So these are the different recommendations. I'm happy to share with you all what need to be followed in crumble feed and pellet feed. So then some point on the nutrition for meat yield aspect. Again, as I highlighted before, all amino acids are important for getting a meat yield. For example, if anybody is having a processing plant, your amino acid profile need to be a little bit different compared to the integration business, because you need to keep a little bit amino acids more to get better carcass yield. Generally now, today's genetic birds are giving like 72 to 73% carcass yield it is been giving. If you want to increase more, you need to increase your amino acids. Again, you can very much see here, high dense diet by putting more oil is not giving the better meat yield also. So again, amino acids is very crucial. If you want to achieve more the breast meat yield, again, welling need to be increased. India is a leg meat loving market, for example, for biryani or tandoori. If any processing plant people wants to improve their leg meat yield, they need to focus on valine and isoleucine. So that is the key thing. If you increase your valine, your leg meat will be increased by even by 50 grams. From 500 grams, you can increase up to 550 grams. This is one of our personal experience with a customer in India by following a optimized, not a standard thing, optimized amino acid specification for carcass yield. This is the profile what they got. Generally, thigh meat, I never seen above 13% in India, but he got 16.5 because of change in the amino acid profile, almost 2% increase in thigh meat yield. So, based upon our objective of our operation, we need to design our amino acid profile for our birds. Coming to the last few points on the margin over feed cost. So as I mentioned before, sometimes whenever there is a volatile market situation, there will be too much pressure on the nutritionists to reduce the feed cost. But sometimes reducing the feed cost may help for a short term, but it may not good for a long term aspect. So margin over feed cost is nothing but the revenue minus the input cost. So we need to find the optimum zone. It's not that always high density will give always higher margin over feed cost. So we need to find the optimum zone to achieve the maximum margin also. Again, you can see here, lower feed cost will not give you a higher margins. So that also we need to keep in mind. This was, I think 2 years before field trial, this was trial done in Hyderabad when soya price went up to 80 rupees, 90 rupees. So customer wants to reduce the cost of production by reducing the feed cost. At that moment, the customer was getting at 36 days, they were getting 1.9 kg body weight with FCR of 1.8. So because of the market pressure, he was having the opinion that I need to reduce my feed cost by reducing the amino acids. So he reduced amino acids by 5% without much change in the energy, but his FCR has gone up from 1.8, his FCR has gone up to 1.9, not much change in the body weight. But I will show you in my next slide on the impact on the cost of production. When we went there, we told them, of course, he's already selling the birds at lower price than the production cost. But I told him reducing the feed cost is not going to help him. So we suggested him to increase the density, improve your efficiency, improve your FCR. So we asked him to increase from his current specs by 8% amino acids, 1% energy, and they got a body weight of 2.25 and 1.6. And this is the scenario. Their current cost was for 40 rupees. When they reduced the amino acids, of course, feed cost has got reduced. But from this current and the reduced feed cost, the production cost got reduced by only half a rupees. But when they increase the density, improving the efficiency, almost like 2.5 rupees savings in the production cost. So even when the market prices are low, having a better profile amino acids will maybe sometimes not makes you profit, but makes the loss low. So this is one of the simple practical sheet what I want to share to this group based upon our last 4 years experience on these amino acids and energy. The top one, BP means the amino acids. The blue one, the left side is the energy. 100 means standard. So we should be always in this zone. That means having 1% lower energy, 3 to 5% high amino acids will always be the sweet spot for us to achieve better FCR. Also, your production cost will be much lower. So reducing the energy and reducing the amino acids, you can see you will lose 10 points of FCR. So this should be our sweet spot. So the last one, some latest technology in precision feeding. For example, in aviation, this was one of the what we call as a feeding chamber, what was designed and developed by aviation. This we are using in the pedigree lines. For example, even from the pedigree, we are measuring the lifetime FCR. We will fix this RFID on the bird's wing. Whenever the bird goes into the chamber, we will come to know that bird that day, how much feed and water it has taken, and we will also come to know the movement of the birds. So even from the pedigree lines itself, we are selecting the birds based upon the efficiency. So these are some of the new things are coming to make it more precise and to achieve the maximum potential of the genetic lines. So to conclude, of course, we have to give less input, but we have to get maximum output from these things. So what are the key points we discussed on these aspects? I think if any one point, if you are going to follow or implement in our operation, I'm sure that will help you to make some improvements in your FCR. So with that, I conclude my presentation, and I thank you so much for the opportunity given to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Venkatesh. I now welcome Dr. Sanjay Singhal for his presentation. Dr. Singhal is Chief Operating Officer, Stalin South Asia Private Limited. He has 30 years experience in the veterinary pharmaceutical industry in the domains of regulatory affairs, technical services, and marketing and sales. He has handled both domestic and international markets and traveled across the globe. Dr. Singhal was a member of the global vaccine team for suggesting and formulating vaccine strategies. He's a member of ISVM and the biological subcommittee of INFA. He's a graduate of Bombay Veterinary College with a master's degree in veterinary science and medicine. After a short stint in multi-species practice, he joined the veterinary pharmaceutical industry in the technical and regulatory affairs role. He subsequently moved on to a marketing role and in due course handled marketing, regulatory and technical functions. Dr. Singhal joined Stalin as Vice President and was elevated to the role of Chief Operating Officer, looking after domestic sales, marketing and technical functions for both poultry and livestock divisions, as well as exports. Dr. Singhal's topic today is mycotoxin management in poultry feed, strategies for prevention and mitigation. Dr. Singhal.
Thank you, Sanjay, for the lovely introduction. I am Dr. Sanjay. I work with Stalin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. And it's a pleasure for Stalin to share the dais with dignitaries like Danda Saab, Khatri Saab, and Professor Shukla. We at Stalin basically aim to develop products which the poultry producer want. We are into commercial operations, and we try to develop products which are useful for the poultry producer. My topic today is mycotoxins. So as this topic suggests, I will be reviewing mycotoxins. It's nothing new, but we need to update our knowledge, review the toxins, what are the type of toxins, what do they do, and the factors by which mycotoxins are formed, and see to try to come up with something which most of it which I'm going to present today, some of it is not in our control. For example, climate, humidity. This is things which are not in our control. But things which we can control, we should try to control. So let's have very quickly, I'll go through. So basically mycotoxins, the first human discovery, it was known as St. Anthony's fire in the Middle Ages. And it was due to an alkaloid in rye, which is a type of a grain which was used in the Middle Ages. And it used to produced by a fungus called claviceps. Anyway, in the poultry, the first discovery was in 1960 in England, where about 100,000 turkeys died due to a mysterious illness. And later on, it was found that it was due to a fungus which was in the peanut meal, which was imported from Brazil. And they called it the turkey X disease. And this today we know as aflatoxins. So this was the first discovery of mycotoxins at that time. So after this, the interest developed, and now we know so many mycotoxins, and still our science is still discovering more and more mycotoxins. So it is basically we have gone ahead from aflatoxins. We have different type of toxins, many mycotoxins which have been developed, and it is estimated that around 25% of the world's agricultural produce is contaminated with mycotoxins. So what is mycotoxins? Is basically a hazardous metabolite of fungal origin. It contaminates the agricultural crop which is used by our poultry producers, and it can contaminate all kinds of raw materials, all kinds. So there are about 300 to 400 mycotoxins identified, but which are most important to us is aflatoxin, trichothecenes, zearalenone, fumonisin, and ochratoxin. So aflatoxin is nothing but basically it is a fungal metabolite produced by the Aspergillus fungus, and two species, mainly Aspergillus parasiticus and Aspergillus flavus. These are the two fungal species which harbor this, and it grows at a temperature of 15 to 40 degrees and requires 3 to 18% moisture. And the four common types are B1, B2, G1 and G2, and this is hepatocarcinogenic as well as hepatotoxic. So aflatoxins is the most commonly occurring mycotoxin, and it affects the liver in birds. Then trichothecene mycotoxin T2. This is caused by a fungus known as Fusarium. So T2 toxin, and it actually affects the dividing cells. So maybe in the skin, in the mucous membranes, in the lymphoid tissues, erythroid cells, it affects that. And therefore commonly found in the field, which includes T2, DAS and DON, also known as vomitoxin. So these are the species of mycotoxins which basically are found because of the Fusarium species. Zearalenone, commonly known as ZEA, which is basically, it's a special type of mycotoxin which is estrogenic. The structure of this mycotoxin is same as estrogen. So it binds to the estrogen receptors, and long exposure to this mycotoxin can lead to hormonal problems. Not so much in chickens, but very prominent in pigs. Fumonisin is another very broadly identified mycotoxin produced again by Fusarium, mainly in maize and maize-based feed, and it's known as fumonisin B1, and the contamination is carcinogenic. Ochratoxin is found again by Aspergillus and Penicillium, and the residues can be found in liver, kidneys, muscle, eggs, and they possess carcinogenic effects when consumed by humans. Now, if you look at the global risk of mycotoxins, as you can see, no country is spared of the risk of mycotoxins. Because our poultry producing are basically corn and soya-bean based meals, mycotoxins are prevalent globally. If you see North America, which is here, North America or the Latin America, you will see that there is more of, you can see DON, the Fusarium species. If you come to our tropical countries like India, Southeast Asia, you will see that aflatoxin and fumonisin is basically very much prevalent. But no country is spared of this mycotoxin. No country you can say is free of mycotoxin. How do you classify mycotoxins? We can classify based on the effect on tissue. So it can be mutagenic and carcinogenic like aflatoxins. It can be teratogenic like trichothecenes. It can be neurotoxic like ergot. It can be hepatotoxic like fumonisin, and it can be immunotoxic. All mycotoxins are immunotoxic. They depress the immune system of the bird. If you look at the effects of mycotoxins in poultry, if you see aflatoxins are hepatotoxic, they're hepatocarcinogenic, they're immunotoxic. Fumonisins also affects the brain, so they are hepatotoxic and neurotoxic. Ochratoxin affects basically the kidneys as well as the liver, and the trichothecenes, that is DON, T2, DAS, they are basically immunotoxic and affect the digestive system. And of course, I told you, ZEA affects the reproductive system. So basically, the symptoms if you see of mycotoxicosis, clinical mycotoxicosis, will be drop in egg production, egg quality, drop in FCR, there could be a hepatotoxic, there could be kidney will be affected, reproductive system will be affected. So these are the effect of mycotoxins on various organs of poultry. So you can see it affects the liver, some mycotoxins affect the kidney, some affect the reproduction, some have gut effects and other complications. In short, basically mycotoxins are one of the most dangerous unseen enemy. If it also has a food safety risk. So residual effect in humans could be food poisoning, inhibition of protein synthesis, nausea, vomiting, headache, reproductive changes, mammary changes, hormonal changes, pubertal changes, carcinogenic effects, and also immunosuppression. If you see the kinetics of mycotoxins is basically absorbed, it passes in the lipid layer, it is passively absorbed, it goes into the liver basically, it follows the enterohepatic circulation, keeps on circulating in the body, finally till it gets eliminated by the kidneys. So there are 4 levels of mycotoxins in poultry, level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4. Level 1 is the cytotoxicity when it gets absorbed into the blood. Second level is the immune suppression. Third one you will find, which is the most dangerous, you will start getting vaccination failures, other diseases due to immunosuppression. And level 4 is the clinical mycotoxicosis. Clinical mycotoxicosis is less. The subclinical mycotoxicosis is one which is very, very dangerous because it suppresses the immune system. Bird becomes susceptible to other diseases as well. So even the smallest amounts of mycotoxins have the ability to impair intestinal health, immune function, and pathogen fitness. Fusarium mycotoxins predispose the birds to coccidial, as well as DON predisposes the bird to necrotic enteritis. Many a times we find that coccidia has come, necrotic enteritis has come, we try to blame the anticoccidial or the anti-necrotic enteritis product, but sometimes and most of the times it is the feed which is at fault, the mycotoxin which is present in the feed, not the disease per se. So it's a request to all our poultry producers, consultants, nutritionists, that when you evaluate a bird for any disease, have a look at the feed and try to test whether this is mycotoxin affected or not. Most of the time, I can say around 80% of the time, you will find that there is a toxin problem which has predisposed the bird to other diseases. So the raw materials affected with mycotoxins, for example, corn is affected with all the mycotoxins, aflatoxin, ochra, triclosan and fumonisin. Then wheat can be affected by 3, sorghum, and then barley, oat and rye. Okay, so all feed additives, all raw materials which are used in poultry production can get affected with mycotoxins. Peanut, cotton seeds, corn, soya bean, barley, wheat, everything gets affected. Now what are the other classification of mycotoxins is pre-harvest and harvest. This is very important. Pre-harvest invades the grains, the crop when it is in the field. And the post-harvest is when it is stored. After the cultivation, when it goes to the farm or the feed mill or the producer stores it. At that time fungus develops, that is post-harvest or storage. Basically aspergillus and penicillin are developed that way. Pre-harvest like fusarium. Then favorable conditions for growth of the fungi is a moisture. This is most important. High moisture, higher fungal contamination, higher toxin. Higher toxin will be present. Relative humidity, physical condition of the grain, ambient temperature and storage. Based on environment, winter conditions with high moisture favor the formation of vomitoxin, zeah, ochratoxin, T2 and fumonisin, whereas warm and humid conditions like ours, we mostly have aflatoxin, ochratoxin and fumonisins. Then there was a classification based on polarity. Some of the toxins are develop a charge that is known as polarity. So aflatoxins and fumonisins are highly polar, whereas zeah is not polar. So when forming a strategy, we have to have a strategy to bind both polar and non-polar mycotoxins. For example, if you put a product, commercially available product, to bind one, for example, not binding the other, so that may become a problem. So mycotoxins are either hydrophilic or like aflatoxin. It is very hydrophilic. It immediately gets attracted to water. So if you find out that your feed has high levels of aflatoxins, you need to put a toxin binder to combat aflatoxins. If you have ZIA, then you need to put something to bind that. Now let us look at what affects the mycotoxin formation in the field. First of all, it is temperature, it is humidity. These are key factors for fungal growth, both of which we cannot control. Year after year, the weather changes. It may be hot, it may be cold, it may be humid, the rain may be there or not there. Depending on these climatic factors, the fungal growth is there. In addition to this, agronomic practice. Now in our country, agricultural producer is different, poultry producer is different, poultry consumer is different. In some countries, agricultural producer is also the poultry producer. Controlling these agronomic practices basically affect the fungal spores in the field and the fungal growth. Now what are the key agronomic factors which can be controlled is crop presence and rotation, soil cultivation, and crop variety. For example, crop presence and rotation. It is seen that if you grow the same crop continuously, there is a more chance of fungal infection. For example, maize followed by maize followed by maize, there is a very high chance of mycotoxin development, but a maize soybean rotation causes a less growth of mycotoxins. Soil cultivation, many times harvest residues. We cut off the crop and leave the residue. This residue harbors fungal spores. And because of that, there is a higher contamination due to mycotoxins. So plowing harvest residues will reduce spore contamination. Crop varieties, of course, we can always talk that we have varieties which are resistant to fungal infections. Genetic engineering or adding a chromosome which prevents mycotoxin is also an option. Then there are other factors, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic factors are the power of generating toxins, fungal species, and initial contamination, whereas the extrinsic factors could be chemical, physiochemical, and physical factors as well as biological factors. So this depends upon humidity, free water, temperature, composition, etc. And the biological factors which can be again controlled is basically insects. It is seen that if you control the insects which damage the kernel, the corn or the soya, the level of mycotoxin goes up if there is insect infestation. So we have to control the insects. Then there is something known as synergism and additive effect of mycotoxins. For example, DON and aflatoxin, T2 and aflatoxin, T2 and ochratoxin, if they come together, always you will not have a single mycotoxin infection. Feed is always infected with multiple mycotoxins. When they come together, the effect is enhanced on the bird. So you will have a lot of problems. You will have mortality, you will have mouth lesions, you will have intestinal lesions, you will have toxic hepatic lesions. All these because of the synergism between the mycotoxins. Now we don't have a very good testing system for mycotoxins. How do we test? So we basically, two types of tests are there. We can use ELISA, which is the enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. This is one test. But the good test is basically HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatography, or the liquid chromatography mass spectrophotometry method. These are the gold standard in detecting, testing mycotoxins. So it is always important to test the raw materials with these methods, test the type of levels of mycotoxins, detect it, and then make a strategy to prevent these mycotoxins. These are the maximum suggested level of mycotoxins in feed, both for broiler and layer. You can see the levels, it's in parts per billion. So we need to, if this is the permitted level, if it goes beyond this, there is a chance you will get a clinical mycotoxicosis. So these are the maximum suggested levels of mycotoxins in feed. So how do we prevent it? First, as I told you, we can do it at pre-harvest or post-harvest. So pre-harvest is basically the weather, which is impossible to control. And then we can control some critical factors like insect infestation. Use of insecticide when the crop is in the field will prevent fungal infection. We will be able to then control the mycotoxins. Management of crop residues and crop rotation. As I said, maize, if you keep on growing maize, you will have a mycotoxin problem. If you grow maize and soybean rotation, you will have a lesser problem. You will still have the problem, but a bit less. Can be controlled. Residues need to be removed. Irrigation and soil conditions, soil fertility and drought stress. One, there is a drought stress followed by high humidity. Again, we have seen a greater mycotoxin problem. And development of resistant plant species. This is a topic of debate. It's a topic of research wherein we can develop plants which are resistant to fungal infections. So this is through genetic engineering or introducing of chromosomes, genes which can control or prevent growth of aflatoxins. Then harvest control. During the harvest, always harvest on time. In India, sometimes what happens is we do late harvesting. That time the toxin production is more. So always if the timing is correct for the harvest, you do the harvesting at the correct time, you will have a less of mycotoxin production. And for post-harvest storage, your storage facilities should be proper. If you store it in open, or if you store it in rooms which are not well ventilated, where there is humidity, temperature, which favor the growth of fungus, you will have a mycotoxin problem. Then the other post-harvest methods can be physical treatment, can be adsorption, or can be biotransformation. These three methods are available for the control of mycotoxins. Unfortunately, in our country, we have the only alternative basically is the adsorption and the addition of toxin binders and bioabsorbent agents, biotransformation agents, and fungal growth. We do not go for physical. Physical, for example, I can tell you, is removing physically the kernel which is infected. So you can literally physically sit and remove the kernel, the corn or the soya which is affected. This cleaning of maize has removed actually 70% of fumonisin and 40 to 80% reduction in aflatoxin. But it is a physical process, it is a time-consuming process. Washing with water reduces 65 to 69% of DON and 2 to 61% of ZIA, basically. Or you can use sodium carbonate solutions have been used. Then you can do chemical with acids or with alkalis. So with acids we can do ammonia. Ammoniation is a process which is gaining importance, but you can use ammonium hydroxide or you can use gaseous ammonia gas to remove the fungal spores. But it is ammonia. Ammonia has a lot of smell, so it is a long time to dry. It takes a long time to dry. Then addition of organic acids as basically to destroy the fungus has gained a lot of importance. Commercially available lot of organic acids. Calcium propionate has been shown to have a very good effect on inhibiting the growth of fungus. Then ozonation is also a process which is being in the developed countries is coming up, but it requires a lot of research. Hydrogen peroxide has been used. Other chemical is basically sodium chloride during thermal processing, sodium bisulfide at various temperatures. Copper sulfate is commonly being added in our country. 0.04 to 0.05% inhibits the molds. This is the easiest method you can do. Biological methods are there, but it will take time, it will take some research. Certain enzymes are being developed like protease, pancreatin, carboxypeptidase, which have an ability to destroy the fungus, the fungal spores, and hence the toxin. Microorganisms which can have potential for mycotoxin detoxification like Flavobacterium enterococcus have also been developed. But the most easy and the most adopted system is use of toxin binders and mold inhibitors. So that is done by adsorption. Now adsorption is done by binding with an adsorbent. So basically they are of many types. The basic is they are clays. They are found in the mines. They have a structure. like HSCAS, montmorillonite, or you have aluminosilicates. They have different structures able to absorb different mycotoxins. The simplest one is HSCAS, which basically binds the polar, the mycotoxins. I'll show you in the next slide. So this is the classification of mycotoxin binders. They can be inorganic or they can be organic. So the inorganic could be a layered silicate like bentonite, it could be a zeolite, it could be kieselguhr, it could be charcoal, it could be dietary fiber also. Organic is basically coming up now because of yeast, different type of yeast cell components, lactic acid bacteria, all these are organic binders. So properties of clay is basically depends on the expandability, polarity, pH, the CEC components, and the drying. So if you here see the management, mycotoxin management, if you see the adsorption efficacy, aflatoxins are hydrophilic. They are bound, they are water soluble and can be easily adsorbed on a clay. So aflatoxins are the highest, easiest to bind, and zearalenone is the hardest to bind. So these basically adsorption, if you see HSCAS for example, if you see the structure of HSCAS, it is like a sieve. छलनी की तरह होता है. In that there are a lot of water molecules. So aflatoxin gets adsorbed very easily on HSCAS. So this is the binding. Aflatoxins is the easiest to bind. And the fumonisin is big and complex, difficult to bind. Zearalenone and fumonisin, very difficult to bind. You need to biotransform these molecules into something where it is biotransformed, made inactive, and released with the feces of the birds. Organic binders are gaining importance, like yeast or yeast cells. So 1,3-beta-glucan, 1,6-beta-glucan, chitin, all these have the capability of binding mycotoxins. Biotransformation, as I said, is a process where we use organisms like trichosporon, for example, which will deactivate the mycotoxin. It will bind it, convert it into an inactive form and excrete it out of the system of the bird. So the properties of microorganisms that can be used, they should be non-toxic, obviously. They should be safe. They should have high detoxification reactivity, no negative impact of feed, compatibility and stability in GI tract, and detoxification reaction has to be fast and complete. It still requires a lot of research. Mycotoxin research has to go on. There are new mycotoxins being discovered. There are new which are masked mycotoxins not seen. It is very difficult. There needs to be a regulatory action basically on these mycotoxins. Just as director of sales, I will tell you we have two products. Talent has two products. That is Alucil Moss Plus. We have developed on our own, which is an HSCAS based product, very good for absorption of aflatoxins. Along with that, we have added moss and activated charcoal and organic acids. And we have one more product, which is an higher end, which is for biotransformation. So a product called Detox, which is there, which contains a special clay, which contains yeast extracts, which is used for biotransformation. So very good for the products which are, for the mycotoxins which are basically non-polar. So in a nutshell, I would like to conclude, it is mycotoxins are omnipresent. We cannot escape. Problem is multifaceted and depends on various factors. Birds are susceptible. Clinical mycotoxins is not a problem, fortunately, but it negatively impacts health and performance. Monitor high-risk raw materials. Try to get it tested using ELISA or HPLC or the LC methods. Once you detect the level of mycotoxins, you can develop a strategy to prevent it in your feed. So use a mycotoxin solution, maybe physical, chemical or biological. And of course, at currently mold inhibitors and toxin binders have come to stay and have to be added to get a complete solution for mycotoxins. This is not a complete solution, it is a stopgap arrangement. I would still say the complete mitigation, removal of mycotoxins is still far away from us. We need to develop products, strategy to actually get rid of mycotoxins right from the pre-harvest level to the harvest level and to the storage. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now welcome Dr. Kamna Barkatoki for her presentation on gut health management in poultry, probiotics, prebiotics and postbiotics. Dr. Kamna is Director Central Poultry Development Organization Northern Region. She joined the Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department Assam in 1996 and has worked in different districts of Assam. After joining CPDO, she made concerted efforts to serve farmers and entrepreneurs of the northern states of the country and also cooperated with the state veterinary and animal health departments to help farmers by providing training and necessary help to start poultry farming. She has introduced experimental backyard poultry farming, moringa plantation and vermiculture in CPDO. She has spearheaded a number of initiatives aimed at introducing poultry farming amongst women and economically challenged sections of society with the aim of providing financial and food security. Dr. Kamna is a recipient of a number of awards, including Fieldman Green Award, Outstanding Lady Veterinarian Award, and Inspiring Lady Veterinarian Award. Dr. Kamna, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's okay. I have been working in Central Poultry Development Organization, Northern Region, for the last 5 years, and as such interacting with the northern states of India and providing the state governments with the germplasm and also the farmers and conducting trainings from time to time. I would like to thank you for your time and also thank the organizers, especially Mr. Sanjay Mukherjee, for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of such a talented gathering. I am not basically a nutritionist. I did my post-graduation in Kerala Agriculture University in Poultry Science in Meat Technology. So I'd just like to give you my topic is gut health management in poultry, probiotics, prebiotics and postbiotics. So I'll just give you a general idea about this. Among traditional livestock species, poultry are the most efficient feed converters with a feed conversion ratio of like 1.6 to 2. The maintenance of such a high feed efficiency plays a vital role for the poultry sector to cater to the increasing demand of the poultry products, but also it poses a challenge because high density intensive production of these birds leads to outbreaks of infectious diseases. So especially in the places where the climate is changing. So the animal gut is the primary organs which utilizes the feed into its basic components and which can be absorbed by the birds for nutrition. And the future of the poultry industry largely depends on applying scientific knowledge and modern tools to support the gut health. What is gut health? Gut health is mostly homeostasis, which is immunity and nutrient digestion and intestinal barrier integrity. These are the main components of gut health. And healthy gut is essential for the efficient conversion of the feed into its basic components for optimal absorption. If gut health is compromised, then digestion and nutrient absorption will be affected, which in turn will affect the health and the production of the birds. The gastrointestinal tract, as you have all known, consists of 5 components. So, and they are mostly affected by the environment, feed, and the people who handle the birds. So, environment is when the bird is first hatched, the gut is almost like sterile, but it immediately gets colonized by the bacteria, microbes from the environment, and then comes the feed and then the people who handles them. So these 3 factors are very important. So gut integrity, gut immunity and gut microbiota. So the function of optimum gut is function is optimum standard condition. There is digestion, then absorption, then secretion, then excretion, and then immunology and regulation. So the gut health, and first of all, the feed goes into the crop, which actually have there is a partial fermentation of the feed into the crop, and then there is a partial fermentation, then it goes into the these are the key systems. Then it goes into the proventriculus, where it is again where the secretion of acid and pepsin is there, and then it goes into the gizzard, for which actually there is it acts as a grinding mill, and with help of the pepsin and the acids, it is broken down. The protein especially is broken down into peptides, which then goes into the small intestine, as you all know, for further broken down into small and further absorption there. In optimal, optimal, when the gut health is the base, then what happens is all the fats, carbohydrates, and proteins are absorbed by the time the feed reaches the ileum. So in the gut of the poultry, there are like viruses, protozoas, and then bacteria. There are like 700 to 800 are there. Almost this is the microbiota and management. Management is very important in gut health. Then food and nutrition, immunity, and environmental factors. A healthy gut is vital for proper digestion and absorption of nutrients. Gut is critical for the animal to survive the stressors. Stress like when there is changeover of feed, and when there is vaccination, there is change in the gut microbiota, and as such, it may lead to some problem. If there is optimal management is not there, then this may again lead to dysbacteriosis. Then maintaining homeostasis. When there is no homeostasis, then it really goes to dysbacteriosis. Sorry. So diet is the main thing. When feed changes, raw materials and physical quality all influence the balance of the gut microbiota. Whenever there is low quality feed pellets, what happens is that there is not proper grinding of the feed material, and it goes the larger particles without proper digestion of the protein, it goes to the small intestine. That is very detrimental because the small intestine is not equipped to digest the protein as such, bigger protein particles. So what happens is that this again goes to the large intestine, and then what happens, it affects the gut health, which is called malabsorption of protein, and that leads to dysbacteriosis. Then there is appropriate brooding condition of the brooding should be very good. Otherwise, there's a proper feed and access to water and fish should be done very properly. Then biosecurity of the farm. Then risk periods. The risk periods are the like changeover of feed and the vaccination. Those are the risk periods when it has to be an environmental conditions. Then mycotoxins and infections. So when it reaches the large intestine, there is two ways. One, first of all, it can go out as feces. Next, the cellulose and all that can be broken down into organic acid, short-chain fatty acids, or vitamins, which again the bird can absorb as extra nutrients. So bacterial community of the intestinal microbiota forms a protective barrier which lines the gut, preventing the growth of less favorable pathogenic bacteria such as Salmonella, Clostridium perfringens. This is called competitive exclusion. So common gut health issues are, one is infectious and one is non-infectious. Infectious are like protozoan diseases, viruses, parasites. Non-infectious are like feed, like I told you, if the feed is not good, then what happens, improper absorption is there, proper grinding is not there, and in that case, it can affect the health of the bird, and result of that is less body weight. And management available feed water is also very important. The pH of the water, hard quality of the water, or the minerals in the water is very important. And there is necrotic enteritis and coccidiosis, as you know, it is E. coli. So necrotic enteritis happens when there is the feed components are not properly absorbed, and it goes into the small intestine, and in that case it goes into the large intestine. In that case, Actually, necrotic enteritis happens from this vectorosis, which is not a specific disease but a secondary symptom. If there is an imbalance in the gut microbiota, it results in nutrient malabsorption. And then it happens what in severe case of this bacteriasis, necrotic enteritis may happen because there is a high level of bacteria because of more feed goes into the large intestine and it cannot be absorbed properly, and the bird also starts taking more nutrients because there is nutrient deficiency in the bird, and that also leads to wet litter. So water quality, as I have told you. Then gut becomes concerned with these are the three types. Like before we used to do that conventional method was antibiotic was allowed, and then we have come now to the antibiotic free, no antibiotic, but then anticoccidials are used. We are going for no antibiotic ever, means nothing is given. And three pillars of healthy diet are healthy gut are probiotics. They are healthy or friendly bacteria that live inside the gut and support the health by converting fiber into compounds. Fibers are the prebiotics. They are the group of nutrients, mainly fiber, that feed the beneficial bacteria in the gut. And postbiotics are the bioactive compounds the probiotic bacteria produce when they take the prebiotics. Probiotics as antibiotic growth promoters, alternative to antibiotic growth promoters. So they enhance the production of short chain fatty acids, then enhance absorption of areas, then lower intestinal pH, then phytase production, improve bone health. Several activities of effective probiotics are usually what happens, as I said, the bird when it is first has the gut is completely sterile, then immediately it get colonized, and mostly the pH of the gut is 5 to almost 6, which is very conducive for the growth of the pathogenic bacteria. So once we feed them probiotics, what happens, they adhere to the oligosaccharide receptor sites of the gut, and that way they will compete for the place. So pathogenic bacteria will not be able to adhere to the gut, and as such, the lactobacillus will they will start convert the lactose to lactic acid, and as such the pH will come down, and in the acidic pH, lower pH, the pathogenic bacteria cannot survive. So bacteria must be capable, and some of the attributes of the effective prebiotics are proper viable bacterial components must be presenting proper numbers of effective symbiotic response with the host. The bacteria must be capable of reaching and colonizing the intestinal tract, which implies they must be resistant to gastric acid and bile. Once ingested, the bacteria must quickly be activated. It should immediately multiply with a high specific growth and produce acid rapidly. Once the bacteria are administered, they must be able to track to their ecological habitat. The mechanism of action by the probiotics are, as I have told you, competitive attachment. Surface action through attachment in the intestinal wall is necessary for enterotoxin producing strains of the E. coli to induce diarrhea in the birds. The lactobacilli compete with the coliforms for sites of attachment. So they cannot, by constant infusion of friendly organisms in the diet, colonization of the gastrointestinal tract by the pathogenic organisms can be altered, improving health, gut health. This is the idea of competitive exclusion for practice of the and it leads to the practice of the microbial inoculation. Then antibiotic production. Lactobacilli produce various types of antibiotic like Lactobacillus acidophilus produces lactocidin and acidolin. Then Streptococci produce antimetabolites, and these prevent the growth of pathogenic bacteria in the gut. Then enterotoxic neutralization, they also neutralize the enterotoxin produced by the pathogenic bacteria. Then immunostimulation. So probiotics, what they do, they also do immunostimulation. That means they stimulate there is stimulation and development of the immune system. When you introduce some bacteria in the gut, if the birds are not exposed to the microorganisms, what happens, their immune system is not properly developed. But if they are introduced with the probiotics, whatever, the immune system becomes alert. So when there is pathogen, they can react quickly. So they said they also stimulate and develop the immune system in the birds, probiotics. So There's the beneficial effects of have attributed of antibiotics like I told you, they produce this acidophilin, the production of organic acids, lowering of oxygen tension in the gut, and then like colonocytes, they act with the bile this thing, and they reduce the oxygen level in the gut, and by reducing it they stop the anaerobic bacteria from forming there. Then organisms compete with pathogenic bacteria for nutrients available in the gastrointestinal tract and deprive the pathogenic bacteria of their nutrients. So most commonly it is used probiotic organisms are these Lactobacillus acidophilus, Streptococcus. Then prebiotics. Prebiotics are defined are non-digestible food components or feed components that have a positive impact on the host by selectively promoting the growth or activities of one or more number of bacteria in the gut, benefiting the host. Probiotics interact with the physiology of animals by specifically promoting healthy microbiota in the gut tract. This is beneficial in lowering the prevalence of intestinal pathogens. One of the main functions of prebiotics is immunomodulation, which involves the selective growth of lactic acid producing bacteria. The selective growth leads to an increase in the concentration of short chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, which is preferred energy source for colonocytes and promotes gut integrity. A lower pH is linked to enhanced stability of some nutrients and the suppression of the pathogens. So they are neither hydrolyzed nor absorbed. Selective substrate for limited number of bacteria, should have known structure, should be palatable as feed ingredient. So these are some of the common prebiotics: oligosaccharides, fructooligosaccharides, man-oligosaccharides, and galacto-oligosaccharides. These are commonly used prebiotics in the poultry feed. Beneficial effects of supplementers of prebiotics are increases the intestinal beneficial bacteria, increases immunity, then reduces the colonization of pathogenic bacteria. Despite the proven benefits of probiotics, there are some disadvantages of probiotics, like given their shared microbial environment in the GI tract, there's a risk of pathogenic microbes acquiring the antibiotic resistant genes from the probiotic microbes exists. The situation is further complicated by the fact that the acquired resistance traits can be transferred easily over species and genus. If improperly cooked, livestock treated with probiotics that are consumed by humans as food may also pose as a possible source of antibiotic resistant genes for the human gut microbiota. So this is one of the most important thing that can happen, and ease of microbial pathogens, since it is a live microbial solution, is very difficult to handle and to store. Some companies, they use micro encapsulation to make it the shelf life better. So stability is a thing. Then tolerance for bile is also a factor. Then survival of the probiotic in the host, and most importantly, as I said, they may have they may acquire antibiotic resistance also. That is the most important thing. So now people are going for the alternative for probiotics. So that's where this postbiotics comes. They are defined as a preparation of inanimate organisms and other components that confer a health benefit, that benefit the health of the host. Postbiotics are actually like probiotics only, but they are not living organisms. So they support probiotics. Postbiotics also support probiotics treats diarrhea. Then antimicrobial properties support immune system in the birds, reduces inflammation. Postbiotics avoid risks linked with the administration of live microorganisms. They are believed to have probiotic effects without living cells. Contrary to probiotics, metabolites are relatively more stable in terms of handling and storage, unlikely to transfer antimicrobial resistance traits to other bacteria. Then postbiotics have advantages due to the clear chemical structure, safety dose parameters, and longer shelf life, which can influence physiological function of the host. Healthy postbiotics includes vitamins B and K, amino acids, and antimicrobial peptides that help to slow down the growth of harmful bacteria. Other postbiotics such as short chain fatty acids helps healthy bacteria to flourish. These are the postbiotics in birds. Dietary inclusion of SCAPF postbiotic. It helps in body weight, FCR, meat yields in broiler, improved yolk weight, improved hatchability in layers. Advantages of postbiotics are avoid risks linked to the administration of life, more contrary to they are relatively more stable. So examples of postbiotics are bacterial lysis, cell wall fragments, enzymes. Mostly they are actually what they are not living. And conclusion. So I come to the increased growth rate, improved feed efficiency, and prevention of subclinical diseases are the main reasons why dietary antibiotic growth promoters have been practiced during the last 60 years in poultry production. However, due to their constant use at low doses, leads to development of resistance in bacteria and also leaves antibiotic residues in the animal products. Despite the remarkable progress, concerns have been raised with regards to the safety and quality of chicken products due to the panic of transferring these antibiotic-resistant bacteria to humans via the food chain. As a result, there has been a global effort to limit the subtherapeutic use of feed antibiotics. So in this case, these prebiotics, probiotics and postbiotics are being considered, especially postbiotics now. So non-therapeutic alternatives to antibiotics and chemical growth promoters for poultry, so that the ever-increasing growth of the poultry industry remains unaffected. So antimicrobial resistance is widely acknowledged as one of the most important global public threats. The main reason behind this hazard is the irrational and indiscriminate use of antimicrobial drugs. So probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics are the promising tool for poultry producers to help meet consumer expectation and ensuring global food sustainably. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kamna. Our next speaker is Dr. Sandeep Dwivedi, Manager Technical Services, EW Nutrition. Dr. Dwivedi, a gold medalist in animals physiology and genetics, is a seasoned veterinary pathologist with a strong focus on poultry. With 6 years of diverse experience in the poultry industry, he has excelled in roles contributing to areas such as gut health, early chick nutrition, respiratory health, and antibiotic-free chicken production. Dr. Dwivedi brings a wealth of knowledge and dedication to furthering advancements in poultry health. He will be speaking to us today on optimizing productivity, advancing poultry nutrition through phytomolecules for optimal gut health. Dr. Dwivedi.
सभी को नमस्कार. Thank you Sanjay ji for giving opportunity, and respected dais, Shukla sir, Dhanda sahab, Kamna ma'am, and thank you for making my job easy, because the topic which I will be speaking just a few minutes after, you already has made my job easy. Dr. Gunashekaran already talked about the precision in nutrition, and Shukla sir talked about food safety. Kamna madam was just now talking about the antimicrobial resistance and what should be done to mitigate the impact of AMR. And Dhanda sahab was talking few minutes back about how raw material quality is going to impact the productivity and the profitability. So right now I will be talking about where all these things are going to happen, and that is gut. Everything, be it precise nutrition, be it raw material quality, everything is going to happen in a gut. And that's why gut health is of paramount importance. A healthy gut definitely brings profitability. So to start, today I will be talking about optimizing productivity, and most of it has been covered through nutrition. It has been covered by Dr. Gunashekaran. And I will be talking about how we can optimize the productivity and advance the poultry nutrition by the help of phytomolecules. So just to recap, these are the major gut functions, that is digestion, absorption, barrier, and the most important is immunity. The gut is something which is ignored, and it carries 70% of the total bird's immunity. Here today, rather than talking about gut health, I will be talking about the gut functionality. So gut functionality, somewhere it is related to digestion, to microbiota and the balance between them. Why gut health? Again, the similar question, why we need to talk about gut health? We need to talk about gut health because necrotic enteritis and coccidiosis are not hidden to all of us. Being into the poultry business, we all know the impact of necrotic enteritis and coccidiosis. Also, as Dr. Shukla was talking about food safety, now the strict government norms coming in action, we in the processing or in the food business need to be concerned more about the microbiologicals or microbes of human health importance like Salmonella, Campylobacter, E. coli, other things. So all these things also needs to be concerned when we are talking about gut health. And why it is needed? It is needed for uniform growth and a robust immune system. These are the common things. Apart from those things, I will like to give stress on mycotoxins. As Dr. Singhal was talking, mycotoxins that specifically DON and Fusarium, they are the culprits for necrotic enteritis as well as coccidiosis because they disrupt the intestinal membrane or intestinal spacing, which causes the leaky gut. Apart from that, a major thing that is endotoxin. It is less talked about, but endotoxin is something which get built up in the feed mill near the mixture or the places where we cannot reach, we cannot sanitize or we cannot clean. They cannot be seen with the naked eyes. They are tasteless and they are hardly detected. But believe me, they are causing a lot of damage, a lot of gut damage, ranging from mortality to loose dropping or wet litter and reduced performance. This is a data in which that data was published by Poultry World, and it accounted for nearly $6 billion of the damage which was caused by necrotic enteritis. Again, a study by Skinner, it showed that there was 12% decrease in body weight. Also, there was 10.9% increase in FCR. Very few hours back, we were talking about how we are fighting for reducing even 1 point of FCR. How 1 point of FCR is impacting your profitability, productivity, and what needs to be done. So, my respected audience, intellectuals here, we really need to take care of gut health, because until and unless we are taking care of the gut health, everything whatsoever we can do, a nutritionist can give you a precise nutrition, you can have a good quality of raw material, but if you have a disturbed gut health or dysbacteriosis to be generalized, or anything like Dr. Kamna ma'am was talking about attaching effacing bacteria of E. coli, how it is going to impact the villi. If you're losing the villi at the early stages of life, definitely it is going to carry it forward for the later stages and you're not going to get the desired FCR. So gut health is of paramount importance, and the companies across the world, serious people, serious persons in the business, they have started to give a heed on gut health. They have started to recognize the gut health, the importance of gut health. I will not be talking about all these things because it has already been discussed. Rather than I will be talking about if we detect some problem and then we are going after treatment, definitely we are ending up with the underperformance. Rather, we need to prevent it to get the maximum output. And in the same context, what I will be talking about here. So this is a data from AgriStats published in 2021. A US-based study is there. How US is spending on its gut health, because in US 3 or 4 categories are there. That is no antibiotic ever, partially antibiotic free, and in no antibiotic ever means they are reducing the antibiotics even at the level of their parents, and in some production methods they are giving antibiotics to parents, whereas they are keeping antibiotics free broilers. So how they are managing it? So if you can see, इसमें pointer नहीं है क्या? Okay. So mostly you can see around 42% of the all $100. If you are spending $100, $42 are spent on phytobiotics or phytoceuticals, or we can say secondary plant compounds. So this is something which shows us how important the phytomolecules are. And as we were talking about yeast, butyric acid, and probiotics, that is directly fed microbials, and 5% are the enzymes. So still, even if you are managing the no antibiotic ever production, phytomolecules are gaining popularity because of their performance. And later on I will be talking about how phytomolecules are helping you to reduce antibiotics and vis-a-vis helping you to maintain the performance and get the productivity. Mostly we get confused by when we say phytomolecules. We say essential oil is something which comes to our mind, or herbs is something which comes to our mind. But the story is really different. When we talk about phytomolecules are molecules as such. They are isolated, they are named, they are individual compounds which are used in combination or used alone. They are having their specific peculiar features, their molecular weights, and the mechanism of actions. Here, what is the difference between essential oils and phytomolecules? Just to give you an example, essential oils are like black box. A lot of information is there. You can utilize as per your convenience. A single essential oil may contain 5 or 6 or say 10 phytomolecules. 1 or 2 might be of our importance. 7 or 8 might not be important to us. So they are raw extracts from plants, and they're unpurified, they're volatile. So one thing which is important is to first purify, isolate, and then to use a carrier, a technology which delivers precisely into the location where they are needed the most. For example, in phytomolecules, they are active ingredients, as I talked earlier. They can be classified as per IUPAC. Like if we can classify chlorine, we can classify boron, we can classify H2SO4 as per or any organic compound, as we can give the name, we can classify it. Similarly, we can classify phytomolecules. So they are as such as good as the molecules. They are detectable, they are purifiable, and we can standardize. Why it is important, why I'm talking a lot about this, because in the coming days we more or less will be using phytomolecules in our operations. So essential oils, if you are using, they can come from a different source. They have varied amount of phytomolecules. They are not standardized. Different sources, different places, different suppliers may have different level of phytomolecules, which will definitely be affecting the performance later on. So these phytomolecules, if isolated properly, they are quantified, they can be standardized, and they can be formulated into a dose which is effective and vis-a-vis productive. An example is thymol. So oregano is an essential oil. You can see oregano have carvacrol, thymol, p-cymene, or other various bitter substances and colorants. Whereas the phytomolecule which is isolated from this oregano essential oil is thymol. It is defined as a monoterpenoid. It can be isolated from oregano or say thyme. So even if a phytomolecule isolated from oregano or a thyme, if I standardize it or you standardize it, it will be having similar concentration. So that is the benefit of moving up to the phytomolecules. there is a case study. Now, how a phytogenic feed additive or a phytomolecule is discovered. So usually the serious players or the scientific method of discovering the phytomolecules is as for the GRAS and EFSA approved bioactive compounds. They are assessed for their efficacy, then their availability, their cost, and three things which we are right now importance for gut health, that is selectively antimicrobial it should be, because we need not to don't need that the phytomolecules should work as antibiotics, they kill everything rampantly. We want our probiotics or our healthy bacteria to be safe, so just we need pathogenic bacteria to be addressed, killed or controlled. So one thing which we need, that is selective antimicrobial activity. Other thing is that we are looking for antioxidant status. Antioxidant capacity needs to be understood, because any insult, gut is the most exposed organ. If we look at anything like mycotoxin or a bad raw material or a particle size or say environment, everything is impacting the gut, and to some extent it is giving you free radicals, which on the other end are causing oxidative stress or cell damage inside the gut. Ultimately the result is leaky gut. So we want to address that problem also. The antioxidant property will catch the free radicals and will not allow the further degeneration of the enterocytes inside the gut. Another thing, we will be looking for inflammation, that is जख्म हो जाता है गट के अंदर, सूजन हो जाती है, और कई बार भी अभी आप फील्ड में जाएंगे, you will be seeing the gut transparent. You put your finger down and you can easily see. Right now there is a lot of buzz for mycotoxins, but what we are missing out is, I was having certain reports, cypermethrin was something which was isolated to various farms which I was taking care of. There was a project going on, and out of 21 samples, around 18 samples were having cypermethrin. So toxicity, chemical toxicity, be it myco toxicity, everything is impacting at the gut level, and the gut is quite transparent. With that kind of gut, with the lost villi, the performance is not going to come. So we need to have something which takes care of inflammation also. Now, what the phytogenic feed additive offers, that is, as I talked, antimicrobial activity, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Also it can modulate your immune response. Here is an example of a phytogenic feed additive which works in a very low MIC, minimum inhibitory concentration. You can have a look. It is potent enough to address Clostridium perfringens, Enterococcus cecorum. Enterococcus cecorum is something which is, if you will search in Google, you will find out that Enterococcus cecorum is causing lameness in the parent stock, as well as sometimes it is affecting the broilers also. At the gut level, it is causing a lot of disturbances, which later on results into watery diarrhea or loose dropping. Then E. coli, Salmonella typhoeum and Staphylococcus aureus. So I want to say is that we have to believe that technology has now moved to that scale, at that level, that where serious players are really very serious to reduce the impact of antimicrobial resistance, vis-a-vis improving the productivity. Now these compounds like phytomolecules, they are potent enough to address these problems, the common pathogens they can address it. And to show this, here is the proof of concept. You can see this is a plate of Clostridium perfringens with the increasing level. At dose dependent level, the first plate is without any phytogenic feed additive. So the concentration of Clostridium, you can see it's on the higher side. As we are moving up from 750 to 1250 ppm, you can see it is almost clearing the plate, which proves that Clostridium perfringens we can address by phytogenic feed additives. Again, to understand further, this is a slide from these petri are of lactobacillus, various strains. As I discussed earlier, we don't want our probiotics to be damaged. We want our probiotics to be intact, functional, So you can see even at the higher level, at the higher doses than on the Clostridium, we have subjected this phytomolecules to lactobacilli, and you can see it is not impacting lactobacillus at all. This proves that selectively and carefully curated phytomolecules can address your problem and improve your productivity. This is about antioxidant activity of phytomolecules or of phytogenic feed additives. Vitamin E is considered as natural antioxidant. So here is the analog of vitamin E, Trolox. Against the Trolox, you can see phytogenic feed additive is performing even better. It is a better antioxidant than even vitamin E. But that doesn't mean that you have to reduce your vitamin E from the feed. It means that the role which vitamin E is playing at the gut level is to be further complemented by phytomolecules. So that is again an antioxidant thing which is covering the intact integrity of the gut. Inflammation is a double-edged sword, as you know, because inflammation is required. Anything which attacks like virus, bacteria, anything, if it is coming to us, our body has self-healing capacity even in birds to produce inflammation. Inflammation is first for healing, but if the inflammation is on the higher side, the energy gets diverted towards fighting the inflammation. So countering the inflammation early on is important, because inflammation is a double-edged sword. One hand it heals, other hand it may kill, or it may reduce the profitability. So phytomolecules or phytogenic feed additives can take care of the inflammation, being anti-inflammatory. Okay, I would like to draw your attention for this particular thing, because this is an advanced stage study. To understand or to study inflammation, we cannot do by just seeing at the bird. We need two kinds of studies, either in vitro studies or ex vivo studies. Mostly whenever the studies are done, it's an in vitro study. And जब field पे जाते हैं, तो there is always a question asked, क्या ट्रायल है बर्ड पे? क्या आपने फील्ड में कोई ट्रायल किया है? Is there any trial in the field? So ex vivo studies are something which simulate the live bird. We take cell lines, that is murine macrophage, equally good as gut cells, and then it is subjected to LPS, lipopolysaccharide, or that is endotoxin. So once we get a cell line and subject it to lipopolysaccharide, definitely it will cause inflammation. And to measure that inflammation, three things are of paramount importance. That is NF-κB, nuclear factor kappa B, IL-6 and IL-10. These three things, if we can measure, they can give an idea about inflammation, anti-inflammation activity or pro-inflammatory activity. NF-κB starts accumulating WBC, the cells which is required for inflammation. Interleukin 6 is something, interleukin 6 will cause inflammation, or interleukin 10 will counter the inflammation. So any phytomolecules or any PFA which we are formulating or we want to buy or we want to address our problem with must have these three things. It must reduce NF-κB activity, IL-6 being pro-inflammatory. So we must counter an IL-6, and IL-10 is anti-inflammatory, so it must increase IL-10 activity. Here is an example how phytomolecules can address it. So LPS, you can understand it as endotoxin. Group 1, Group 2 and Group 3 are there. In Group 1, DMSO control, dimethyl sulfoxide, is used as control. When you are putting it, the control thing only, there was no inflammation. Only 4% NF-κB was there. But as you are challenging it with 0.25 microgram per ml LPS, you can see the inflammation is rising up to 90%. The NFKB levels are rising up to 90%. Also, you can see when it is increased, like 0.5 microgram per ml LPS is increased, the inflammation is rising even more higher. What is it proving? This is proving that endotoxin is something which causes inflammation and you cannot see it. You cannot feel it. Everything goes right. You are selecting the right raw materials. You are doing your formulations right, but still the performance is lacking somewhere. You are missing out something. Now, if you can see on the second figure, you see again DMSO is there. The NFKB is 4%, whereas when 50 ppm PFA was used, just at 50 ppm PFA, you can see the levels are coming down to 80%. And next slide, when you are using 200 ppm PFA, that is phytomolecule feed additive, it is reducing the inflammation by 57%. So this proves how potent these phytomolecules are to reduce the inflammation. Again, as I was talking about IL-6 and IL-10. So IL-6 being pro-inflammatory and IL-10 being anti-inflammatory, we want IL-6 to IL-10 ratio to be on the lower side. Phytomolecules feed additive, on the one hand, they reduce IL-6 levels, they promote the growth of IL-10, which end up into reducing the IL-6 to IL-10 ratio, which proves again that phytomolecule are able to counter inflammation precisely. So what activities it has demonstrated? They downregulate the activity of NFKB, they promote IL-6, they reduce IL-6 and promote IL-10. Here are certain studies. There is one study which was done by Southern Poultry Feed and Research at Athens, in which 800 COP 500 birds were used, and the results are with you. The mortality with the phytomolecules was almost 50%, with a better gut lesion score at day 21 and at day 35. So there is 47% lower mortality and 50% better necrotic enteritis lesion score. So this again shows at the field level also how phytomolecules feed additives can help you to achieve your goals. This is again a research, the trial which was done for for the performance. You can see 8% higher feed intake, as Dr. Gunasekharan was also talking about. Sometimes the bird will stop taking the feed because of the presence of mycotoxins or something, which may impact the feed intake. So this phytomolecules feed additive helps you to gain feed, and 3 points lower FCR. Even if it is 1%, that is huge for you. So this result is showing that 3% FCR can, 3-point FCR can be lowered by the use of PFA. Again, this I would like to draw your attention to this particular slide. Claudin 1 and occludin. Claudin and occludin are the genes which express. If there is a higher expression of claudin and occludin, there will be inflammation. There will be pulling away of the enterocytes, which will create a gap, loose junctions, and vis-a-vis there will be loose droppings. So occludin and claudin, if your relative expression is on the lower side, that means junction tightening will be happening perfectly. You will be having a perfect tight junctions, and rest is, you can understand, if you are having a good tight junction, a good villi, the performance is on the cards. So, to summarize, phytomolecules can help you optimize gut health. They can support in efficiency and profitability, and they can help you reduce antibiotics from your production, and contribute in the human health. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. That brings us to the end of today's IPR Knowledge Review. Thank you all for being a part of this. A special thank you to our speakers who've taken time out to be with us today. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Shukla, Mr. Anpal Danda, Mr. Mishra Khatri, and of course our sponsors, Aviagen, EW Nutrition, and Stalin. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Please join us for lunch. Thank you.